understand that I don't wanna play your game.
The Earth is very flat.
Hell yeah, what's going on? It is Tuesday, August 17th, 2021. I am Brandon, host of Brandon's Show, a place where our goal is to build a foundation of observable, repeatable, experimental facts and to question everything, no matter who says it. Keep that in mind. That's one of the purposes of the show. How's everybody doing out there? I see a bunch of people in chat. There's a bunch of people in Discord already, full room. Should be a good show. We've got Alexander Lightwater. Bill G says sound is good. Thank you, Bill. Askin Receive. Tuesday, 1809, Rune Thorson. Page 42, PJ Cruikshank. And Paige was first. Good job, Paige. Thanks for being here, guys. It is an open panel, open discussion. Gerbil free, although I can't make any guarantees. But it is intended to be a gerbil free broadcast. We'll see how that holds up. But let's go say hello to everybody in Discord and get going.
You know, you can have double triplets or twins, or so you can make two can equal a lot.
Yeah, so I think it's mathematically, patently false to say lines do not have width. I think you have to concede that.
You're inventing a new field of math.
Yeah, I'm correcting it. So I have to say that you have to say that at minimum there's an infinitely small amount of width.
Yeah,
but lines cannot be one-dimensional. They have to be two-dimensional.
You can't even think about it in your mind using just one dimension. Think of a line in your mind with. Yeah, that was a good point.
I actually can think of it. I actually can think of that.
What do you see? Describe to us what you see when you're envisioning this 1D line.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about it visually.
Nice try. You can't even imagine it.
I actually imagine a line getting smaller and smaller and then vanishing, but still being there.
You can't vanish and still be there.
If you cannot do that, maybe then your imagination is lacking.
So the line vanishes in your mind. The line vanishes.
Yeah, just like things can vanish when they are too small for you to see. Have you ever had things disappear because
when it's all said and done, the final product?
If you've actually seen things disappear and they are too small for you to see, then you can imagine this.
The final product. What are you looking at? Describe to me what you see in the end, in your mind.
A line. That's the goal, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
So you see, but there's nothing there though. There can't be anything there if it's.
There is a line there.
No, there's not. There's nothing there.
It's the goal to imagine a line.
If something's there, if you see it, it's got to be 2D.
How do you know?
Because you can't see 1D.
How do you know?
Show me something that's 1D.
A line.
Huh?
A line. I just showed you.
No, you didn't. When you're all done with your mind exercises and mental gymnastics that you just went through, what do you see?
A line.
You see a line.
Yeah.
So you see something that has width and length.
No, you see a line. It has no width, has no length.
I don't think you're looking at anything at this point.
One-dimensional.
So you don't see anything because you can't see 1D.
Why can't you see 1D?
I don't, because that's not how the world works, bro.
Well,
do people know
you're an expert in vision?
No, they don't.
Can you guys see in 1D? I can't. I mean, I only got one eye, but I don't know if that's really a factor.
Probably why you can't see in 1D. You can't see 3D. That's for sure.
Nobody sees 3D.
How does
you don't see in 3D?
Jeremy, how does mathematics work?
Yo, don't come in here and start grilling us on some bullshit, Brenda.
You're talking about math.
We're talking about geometry.
That's math.
Nah, maybe not. It's debatable.
Jesus Christ.
It's debatable.
No, it's math.
Well, I don't know. We should ask Bev. He's the
Oh, Bev. No, Bev doesn't know shit. Fuck.
Bev is
Bev's smarter than all you guys put together.
he's mentally retarded.
No. You, Brenda,
Yes,
that's rich coming
yes.
from someone who's with all the famous quotes we have you saying.
Everything I've ever said is absolutely true.
You have said the most ridiculous
Yeah.
statements I've ever heard people say in the world and ever.
You're right, that space-time bends. Yeah. Right?
Not that. We have a whole top 20 list with just you.
Cool. Go through it. Go through it with me.
I don't have it offhand. I mean, go check any of.
You don't. So you don't know.
There's tons of them. Dog bones or clocks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you a dog bone. You tell me what time it is.
That's just basic science. Yeah. That's basic.
Anyways.
It's just basic.
Anyways, way to derail from the conversation. I had him right where I wanted him with this 1D line at the end.
You didn't have us where you
And
wanted.
you've managed to derail it so far off now, we'll never get back. Thanks.
Understand what mathematics is. Mathematics is just a set of rules or axioms that define the properties of some conceptual objects. They don't exist. They're concepts.
I've been telling them that it's fucking math's all abstract. I was telling them that, and they were talking like I was nuts. Maybe you should talk to Paid NASA Show later or on your own time or something. In the meantime, shut the fuck up. Just shut up.
No.
Shut up. Shut up. Shut it.
No.
Shut.
No. So lines are defined by the axioms of geometry.
Can you see a 1D line, Brenda?
They're concepts, Jeremy.
Okay, but we were talking about if you can see one or not. If you can even visualize one in your mind.
They're concepts.
Can you see? So you can't see one.
A line is a concept. Wow.
Yeah, so it's a point. Can you see a point, Jeremy?
No, it's 0D, right?
It's 1D. It's
0D. Point is 0D.
Brenda doesn't know what she's talking about.
Oh, it's
It's
hard
fine.
to think.
Don't worry.
Yeah, because you
I
tend
know.
to think about point is 1D and the line is 2D.
I'm
and
playing
the
chess.
section-
She's playing checkers. That's what's going on.
You're not playing chess. You wouldn't know the rules of chess, I bet.
You guys are playing tic-tac-toe and shit. I don't know. Dumb it down.
I can dumb it down.
No, it's hard.
What's up, guys?
Yeah.
Show's live. How you guys doing? We can continue this back and forth dick swinging contest in a minute. But welcome to the show. Glad to have everybody. Let me just call out who is in the channel. We've got Percentage, Boofus, Chad, Chikey, Democ, Drink of the Kool-Aid, Enigma, Ellen of Cyrene, aka Brenda, Extremisys, FE, Self-Evidently, Face One, FE Walker, First Incubus, Fish Bio, George, Geo, Travis, Jace, Jeremy, Paid NASA, Shill, Papers, Please, Bill Nye, Phoenix Rising 86, Popes and Cleanser, Rakia Life, Silent Zero, Tony V, and Witless Protection Program. Woo! Full room, guys. 29 people.
That was a
Not
mouthful.
bad.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I had to take a couple breaths in there. So what's up? What's going on? You guys arguing over the nature of Euclidean geometry, lines, and their width?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
breadth?
a minute ago, Paid NASA Show was telling us that lines exist in reality. Or what were you saying, Paid? You don't want it. You don't want it.
Paid.
I'm here, aren't I? Or am I on? Did I mute myself? Hello?
Yeah, we hear you. What were you saying about lines now? About how they exist in reality?
Yeah.
And 2D
You-
objects existed. You made all kinds of wild claims.
Well, yeah. I mean, you tend to have a problem with that.
If it's two
Completing math,
dedicated, have length,
you're
does it have
completing
length and
math with applied math.
two-dimensional length and width, two dimensions, yeah?
Was
that
that
right?
to me? Was that to me?
No, this is to paid. If it's two-dimensional, it has to have two dimensions, length and width, correct? It's kind of in the name.
Yes, you can't even imagine a line without imagining a line or without imagining something
Okay.
that has width to be a line.
Two dimensions. So what's the width of that line? If it's got no width, what would the width be?
Hello.
He's saying there is none.
They're 2 dimensions. You know what the shortest distance that exists is? What it's called? Bill, you know what it's called?
Yeah, straight line. So what? And Euclidean.
Who's muting people? Is that you?
Oh,
You know what flank length? Have you ever heard of flank length? You know what flank length is?
Yeah, I know Planck.
I muted Aaron. He was hot micing.
Okay. So if your line, if it's got no width, is it smaller than flank length in width, or how would you describe it?
You're talking reality. Math isn't based on Planck's length.
That isn't reality. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, math is reality. You're trying to get into physical reality, which math is not.
Math is a language. It's not math the language to describe things.
It could be considered that way, yeah.
Oh, so we're describing a width of a line. How would you describe it mathematically?
Lines have no width. Lines have no width.
Okay.
You live in
so
a
it's not
cartoon.
two-dimensional then. It's not
one-dimensional. I told you line was one-dimensional.
Were you quiet because you went to look up in Wikipedia or had a conversation in the background to figure out why what you said was stupid? Hey, NASA Shell?
It's not stupid. I'm sorry. What I'm telling you is basic math.
No, he went to watch a cartoon.
I'm telling you, it's basic math.
A
If you guys have a problem with it,
number cartoon.
maybe you should go to Wikipedia and look it up.
Maybe we should watch your Narnia cartoon about
Or
math.
maybe you should have stayed in school past 6th grade. How
Maybe.
about that?
Yeah, maybe it would teach us about lines that don't have width, like you know. Wait, could you show us that?
If you would have stayed in school past 6th grade, I'm not here to teach you.
Why do you always say that? You know what? Hold on, D-Mock. You guys say that all the time. I mean, I spend a lot of time around ballers in different rooms, on different shows, just having different discussions.
Says that 'cause he doesn't know
And I
anything.
don't think I've ever gone a day without a baller saying something like, "You never went to school, huh?" It's like this huge inferiority complex that you guys have.
It's true. If you had stayed in school past 6th grade, you would have studied math. And
I have a master's degree, motherfucker.
This is literally
nothing math. Nothing
Yeah,
close to science, I would
bitch.
hope.
Yeah, bitch. It isn't something to do with math. You don't know fucking shit.
You went to school for math. You went to school for something that requires math.
Involved with
don't
math,
know?
yes. Heavy mathematics. Yeah.
And you don't know that a line is 2-dimensional. The line is 1-dimensional.
Yeah, no, I know a line's one-dimensional.
Okay. Then maybe you should tell DMOC and Jeremy and all these other.
Let's hear this argument. No, Jeremy. Jeremy,
just
you
took
arguing
you to
that a
school.
line
What are
is...
You didn't take me to school. You haven't gone to school since you retired, so be quiet.
Jeremy, weren't you arguing that a line is one-dimensional?
No, you're saying it
I
has to
thought
be
that's what you were
2-dimensional.
arguing.
A line by definition is 1D.
Yeah.
Can we have anybody new that's not paid and anybody else who's not going to just do everything that you're talking about, Brandon? Like, I guess you got to go back to school. I mean, like, this is ridiculous. We need to have a productive conversation.
Does anybody have anything to present or a evidence, observation, anything new? If someone fucking says yes and they show me a picture of space, I'll ban you from the fucking server. Just FYI.
Any evidence for flat Earth? Any evidence for flat Earth?
No, I just asked you. See, I said, does anybody have a presentation or evidence? Or see, that was me asking a question. Yeah, now you shut up, didn't you?
No. Do the flat Earthers have any evidence for flat Earth?
No, Brenda.
No evidence.
You're not just gonna fucking sit there and turn it around.
Brenda,
Do you have
you're
anything?
the
Show
evidence
us your number one evidence
For dinner.
that you live on a globe that's not a fucking government propaganda
Are you eating
picture,
that
Brenda.
sandwich? Or whatever it is?
Brenda is
Oh,
the number
your
one.
mic's open, Jeremy. Jeremy, your mic's
Brandon.
open.
My bad.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Go ahead.
They got mad when
What?
I went in gyms and told them I told them in gyms, like a while back, I got banned from there ever since. I told them they're all the flat earth proof. They keep asking me that same question. I said, you guys are it. You don't have any globes, so what else is there?
Oh, but we do have a globe, so there's
Where's it
that.
at?
Yeah, show us your evidence there. Let's see it. Present something.
See, I answered your question, Dimok. How about that?
You don't want to present anything, Laurie?
That's how easily you fall today.
Does any baller have any evidence
Nothing to accept.
Okay.
In any debate, both sides have to produce evidence for their position. So flat earthers need to produce evidence for the flat earth.
The person making a positive claim, hold on guys, the person making a positive claim needs to provide evidence of that positive claim. Now there's a positive claim that's been made that curvature exists.
Anybody making an assertion needs to provide evidence to back up their assertion. You assert that the earth is flat.
No, you're the only one that's talked about flat earth, Brenda. Do you have a presentation?
Well, we were actually talking about this last night. It's an interesting topic in terms of the idea of the burden of proof and all of that. I personally don't really express myself in a way that I demand burdens of proof from people. I don't really align with that philosophy entirely. However, there is the concept we were talking about last night where the default, reality, the null factor, the default is that the earth is stationary. Everybody agrees it's not moving, it's not spinning. Every human can agree that's the direct experiential reality. That water is level, certainly local, and we can talk about longer distances whether water remains level, but there's that factor, and the fact that the sun, moon, and stars are moving. So that is the default reality for every human.
That is not the default.
Well said, Gio. Well said.
Yeah, and then there's this claim on top of that that's being made that it's a globe. So someone is claiming it's a globe when that's different from the default.
Yeah, that's the default. Those are all assertions based on no evidence.
That's all based on, that's all our empirical data. Every single person on this panel collected their experience of the world up until today, what they experience in the actual world, and that's what it said.
And whatever.
No, it's your assertion that the earth is flat.
No, my observation, my personal observation, the sun, moon, and stars indicate to me personally,
they move.
I'm on a rotating planet.
They move. What about them?
Yeah, they do.
Because they couldn't move in any other way than they do, except on a globe Earth.
Demonstration.
Really? Really? Why is that, Brenda? Why couldn't they move in any other way, in any other shape? Tell us about it.
Show us, Brenda. Show us your demonstration how it couldn't happen.
Because they presuppose how the sky works.
When you're done spurging out,
course.
let me know.
Have you been to Australia?
Shut up, Shill. Brenda has to answer a question. Tell us about how the stars and the sun prove a globe and falsify all other models. Tell us about it.
Because the way they rotate could not work on a flat Earth. They would be.
Now you've made an assertion. Now fucking tell us how.
They would be moving horizontal to the horizon if it was a flat
Why would you
Earth.
think something so stupid as that?
Because that's true.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I asked you why you would think something so stupid as that. That's usually when you said, here's why I think that.
That's not biased at all, is it, Brent?
I am fucking biased. What are you talking about?
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Biased towards fucking logic, reality, observable reality.
You've never been to Australia, have you?
Listen. When you observe the sky and you see a central point of axis that we call
central points.
Okay, fuckwit. I am not in the southern hemisphere, so fuck off. Fuck off.
So we get to ignore the southern hemisphere, right?
Come on, Paige, you're just interrupting him. At least let him finish what he's saying.
No, yeah. Listen. All we are arguing about is an observation. There is a central point in the northern hemisphere of rotation. So the sky fucking has a central point of rotation. It's not hard. It turns in a circle.
Yeah. It has 2 points of rotation, which can only happen on a sphere.
Correct. Incorrect.
Wrong.
Okay, here. Hold on.
Correct? Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
I said incorrect.
No, it has. You can't.
Just
Never.
correct.
No, yes. You
What?
can't. Brenda. You can't.
You can't just ignore one whole
I'm not
axis
going
rotation.
to. Fuckwit. I'm not going to. Okay?
East to west.
Listen.
Yeah, so let's just throw away the whole other.
Okay, can I finish
So,
and respond?
yeah. So go ahead, Travis. Let's have a conversation. I don't want to have
Okay.
to start muting people. Let's have a back and forth. Go ahead.
Right. Is it possible that if we have two observable rotating set points of axis, that they could be at different levels in the sky?
No.
How do you know?
Because you don't see them that way.
You don't see. Listen. You don't have depth perception. You have bright stars. You have dim stars. No.
So what you're saying is that this. I don't understand how this would two different. Tell me how this two different level model will work, please. Why do we only see one from one hemisphere and one from? What's so magic about the equator that suddenly?
It's not magic, you fuck.
Oh, it is. Okay, well then
It is
please explain it.
Okay. If you are standing on the equator and you see that almost like a gear, right? You have these two rotating points of view above your head, and they apparently blend into each other on a particular line of view.
That can only happen on a globe.
Let him finish. Shut the fuck up and let him finish. Next person to interrupt him is getting muted. Anybody.
You're
now you're roboting, of course.
Apparently,
Fuck
like
me.
gears, they mesh together. So you have, all right.
However, from the equator, what you see is the stars rising directly overhead and basically in straight lines over your head. And I admit I haven't seen that personally, but I've seen pictures from the equator. I don't think I've actually been that close to the equator, for nighttime at least.
Well, in terms of like virtually all of humanity since the dawn of time, there's always been this concept of the celestial sphere. Of course, they would say the Earth is a stationary plane surrounded by a celestial sphere, that concept. And of course, on the globe Earth model, that's sort of been inverted where they've said, no, actually the Earth is on the outside of a ball, and then space is this infinite sphere, this infinite celestial sphere that goes out into infinity. So on either of those basic structures or models I just described, there is still a celestial sphere, actually a spinning sphere quality to the cosmos, to the universe, is that a spinning sphere, whether we're surrounded by a spinning sphere on a flat plane or on the outside of a sphere. So the fact that the sky is making, the paths that it's making is not proof of what the shape of the Earth is.
Actually, it is, because you cannot have two counter-rotating points of origin on a flat disk.
Okay, why not? Why not? Let's go right with that. Let me just say this real quick. You could have a flat plane, like just like you could have a floor in your house. You have a flat floor. You could have any lights you want. You could have lights that move up, down, left, right. You could have any lights in the world. So why would any light pattern in the sky be incompatible with this planar Earth?
I want the model that shows me two.
I know you want models, and I implore you to continue your search on figuring out what reality is. I'm just saying, can you come up with any reason why the stars can't be doing anything they want to do above a flat plane?
You mean just some sort of magic thing that they're just kind of doing?
I'm not talking about magic. I'm just saying anything possible.
They've presupposed so hard how the sky works that they're locked into this model of how the sky. They have a model of how the sky works.
We know how
they can't think of anything else.
We look at the sky and see how it works.
It sounds like you can't come up with a reason why anything couldn't be working.
By the way, Geo,
you could have magnetic fields. You could have anything. And I'm not saying what it is or isn't. I'm just saying that doesn't eliminate the idea of a planar Earth in any way.
So, Geo, one of the things you said that was mistaken was that people have always had this idea of a celestial sphere. The celestial sphere is modern. It's not ancient.
That's false.
No, that's wrong. Ancient peoples thought that the sun and the moon went below and beneath the Earth into the underworld.
That is 1,000% false. Nobody has ever thought that.
That's just a lie.
If you were told that story, that's false. If you look at all the ancient cosmologies, every single one, they all have the sun and the moon above the Earth, surrounded by a celestial sphere.
Yeah, and going into the Earth, into the underworld at nighttime.
No, never.
Yes.
Never. If you were told that, you were deceived.
You're just going to deny ancient mythology.
No, listen.
that's true, at
ancient
least in
mythology,
Egypt.
right? Okay, listen. Okay, hold on, real quick. Listen, if you were centrally located at a particular place in your country, and you could only see to the mountain range, and you saw the sun go away, and you created in your mind a myth that the sun was going beneath the land, and then one day you walked past those mountains and saw more land, you'd have to fucking change your story. And every time you kept walking and walking, shut up, it wasn't finished. And every time you kept walking and walking and walking, there's more land. You would understand that the sun and the moon and the stars are always above the land.
That's not true. So that's exactly what happened historically. As people explored the world, they learned that the local mythology wasn't true.
Go ahead and get it. Go ahead and give us any of the citations upon which you're basing this bullshit.
Egyptian mythology.
That's not a
The sun
citation.
going into the
That's
world
not a citation.
What is this, a science project? Since we're doing citations.
Hey, Brandon, I sent you a PM for the concentric star trails, which would either mean that the Earth is spinning in two different directions at the same time, or we're stationary. I don't think we can spin in two different directions at the same time.
Oh, cool. I was just looking for a Star Trails video. So what's in this? Exo?
I just sent you two photos. That's all.
Oh, 2 photos?
So yeah, time-lapse photos of the star trails at night. They're converging and diverging from the same point, not leaving positions, going to a different hemisphere. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got that from Northern California as well, back in April. 4 different videos.
Yeah, they bag on you for that video for some reason. I'd like to hear the criticism of it, because I have never heard any, substantive reason why they would appear that way.
Well, the criticism would be it entails a logical contradiction.
Okay, are you talking about me right now, Brandon?
Yeah. You. Yeah. I know your video you're talking. I brought it up on here a couple times.
All right. So, Brendo, what the fuck are you talking about?
Thing can't rotate in 2 different directions.
She doesn't even know. She has no fucking clue what she's talking about.
Yeah. Shut up. You're out of your depth here. Okay.
Well, that's what it would have to be if that was
okay,
true.
listen. I did not say that they were rotating in 2 different directions. I have diverging star trails. Okay, they blend together. Huh?
Sorry, I was just going to say
converge and diverge. Flat Earth. They're called converging and diverging. Yeah, from the same point.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Exo,
he's got a good one, Exo. I don't know if you've seen this, but it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, can the link be in general chat as well?
Yeah,
we just posted one.
Beautiful.
Those are magnetic lines, right?
Huh?
What I just posted, yeah.
Yeah, what's that got to do with anything?
Well, it's a universal pattern in nature. Yeah, the Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio, toroidal fields, the fractal patterns, these are all universal patterns in nature. So it's not surprising to me that we see the same pattern in the sky, in the heavens above.
We don't see that in the sky, Gio. We have to use a time lapse to see lines like these. When you present something that's magnetic and points in the sky, or points in a diagram, or points in a demonstration, we can talk, but we have to use a time lapse. So no, we don't naturally see this in the sky. We see points.
Anybody seeing this? This video is all
talking about the movement of the stars. Yeah, we're not talking about the freeze frame motion of the stars. So of course you'd have to do a time lapse to be able to see it in one shot, unless you can just watch it and track it in your brain. But yeah, it's still this is still the same movement, the same structure of the movement of the stars.
Well, let's stick with the star trails for now, and then we can talk about the magnetic thing. But here's Travis's video. I think this is a still frame. You're probably talking over it, but do you want to say anything about it, Travis?
Well, no, I'm driving right now, so I can't look at the screen.
All right.
Yeah, but no,
For anybody that can't see it, it just shows like a concave. You see concave star trails. Are you looking south or east, or I guess you're looking southeast? Is that right?
No, I was in California. That's a little bit. It's probably more west than southwest, but that's the general.
Oh,
direction.
west, yeah.
That's exactly
Southwest, yeah. Yeah, that
what,
makes sense.
what is this proving?
Yeah, they're moving.
Yeah, what conclusion are we drawing from star trails?
The
I'm
conclusion
not drawing
is
any
this.
conclusion. I'm not.
Yeah, you can draw a conclusion though. The stars are measurably separating from each other. They are deviating from each other.
No, they're not.
They are?
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
Show us star, Brandon. Show us star trail.
Which
Brandon,
We
show
are.
us
We're
star
looking at
trail
them, Jeremy.
Can you
at the
can you
equator.
prove
Hold
that
on,
they
show one
are?
at the,
That's kind of what we're looking at, Jeremy. This is.
They're
watching your
diverging from one
screen.
another? Where?
No, show one at the equator.
That's kind of what he's
Well, hold
showing.
on.
It looks like both hemispheres and the equator, the star trails. That's what it looks like this video is.
Yeah, you can show both sides in the basically straight line. You know, viewing from the equator.
I'm sure you can, but why do we have divergent star trails here? Explain this to me. What is causing these ones to look concave and these ones to look convex?
You're looking at
Because it's
opposite
two
sides.
sides.
You're
Yeah.
looking at opposite sides of the sky. So if you imagine there's a fan, a ceiling fan, or a clock, and something that goes in rotation. For two people to be viewing the same clock and looking at it counterclockwise or clockwise, you'd have to be looking at two opposite sides. And so that's
Yeah,
what
but man, there's measurable star separation. I've been arguing this for years, man.
There's only one observer.
Brian, your mic is really low or something.
There's only one
Diverging star
observer.
trails.
There's only one observer in this. So how is your thing with two observers analogous?
Because you're looking in two different directions.
With one observer.
Rotating axis. Yeah.
Looking in two different directions. You fuck. I'm looking straight ahead.
I know, but in reference to the celestial poles, you're looking in two different directions. You have the neutral point of the equator where they're going in straight lines, and then you're going to have
Show me where the
opposite
equator
moving.
is.
I
You
know.
show me where the
No,
equator
you don't like when
is.
people interrupt you, but you interrupt people. So
Oh,
when
no,
you're
I don't
looking
actually.
at just
I
the
don't
north
actually
celestial,
care when people interrupt me. No,
oh, there you go.
that's not true.
Here,
That's
how
not
about
true.
you finish? How about you?
All
Finish?
right, hey, let's not get into it. Yes, Travis, please don't interrupt. Nobody interrupt. Let's just have a conversation.
It's the same way that I provide the example or the analogy that you can do this demonstration where you put lights on your ceiling, you put lights on your floor, you yourself rotate in one direction. You look up, you're going to have a particular rotation. You look down, you're going to have an opposite rotation. You haven't changed your rotation direction, but because you looked up and you looked down, you're going to get different rotations.
Are you done?
Yeah, but let me
Are
say
you done?
let me say something here. The stars aren't supposed to be impacted by perspective, right?
Sure, of course they are.
In your model.
You're looking at them.
Well,
Yeah, but they're so far away, it doesn't matter. That's why you put them so far away.
But
Yeah, but
particular
why-
aspects of it won't matter, sure, but it's still going to be affected by perspective depending on where
Why
you
would
are
you have
and your angle to
localized
them.
perspective effects
I
with
don't know why you're
stars
bringing
that
up
are trillions of miles away? Now, I got to say something, though, before you answer that question. This could just be the lens, to be honest. We don't really know why it looks like this. I don't think it's the lens. It looks like a lot more.
We know why. I understand that, the implications, but
you
we
don't.
know why.
You really don't. You really don't.
Yeah, we actually do. It's
You
simple.
really don't. You really don't. You tell everybody you do, and you act like you're smarter than everybody, but you really don't.
We do know. You can't tell me what I do and don't know it. But we can disagree
I
about
can.
the conclusion, but you have a conclusion, I have a conclusion, and then we have consistent.
Well, then you can't say that you
evidences
know.
for the conclusion.
If I can't say you don't know, you can't say you fucking know.
No, I have evidences that corroborate.
Same
each
logic
other
there,
around
buddy.
The world.
Oh, well, I have all this evidence that says you're full of shit.
Except that
Present it, please. Present.
Yeah, their only attempt, Brandon, was to hide from the point, which is that they are seen diverging and converging from the same point of view, not different points of view. So they're
Right.
just scared to death of the argument. It's
Yeah.
way too easy.
It's being addressed directly, actually.
No, it's not. You haven't made
Coach
any
used
sense
this
whatsoever.
There's no.
That's why
time. This is
Kosho used
pathetic.
this clock example with two different observers, and in this image, there's only one observer looking in one direction.
Yeah, it's the same thing if you had a cell phone with two sides on it, right? Imagine you put your observer on the spot in the side of the phone. Okay, the two cameras are viewing two different rotational directions, and the person on the side of the phone, the observer,
It's one fucking camera, Kosho.
Yeah, that person on the side. That person. Yeah, no, I'm
It's
talking about the third
one
camera.
camera. Stop talking about two cameras.
I'm talking about the third camera. I'm not talking about the two cameras. Those cameras are not involved in this observation. I'm talking about the one on the side. The one on the side would be the one. This one person who's viewing both sides and also viewing the middle.
What a crock of shit.
So just imagine yourself.
Travis, you're roboting.
Yeah.
Shut up, Brenda. Shut up, Brenda.
But you were roboting.
I thought my analogy was totally fine. You're the same observer and you're looking in two directions.
Imagine yourself.
He's looking in one. Hold on a second. He's looking in one direction.
I totally get that. So even within my example where you have lights on the ceiling and the floor, you could still look in one direction. So long as you're picking up that midpoint and then you're picking up the up and below, you're going to get different rotational directions despite you moving in the same direction.
This is all bullshit ad hoc. This is all ad hoc bullshit.
It's something that you
answers.
can do yourself.
No, you're creating.
No, this is just how things actually work in the real world.
No, they don't. Just like men aren't women.
Yeah, I know.
No, don't start, Travis. Please don't start. It doesn't belong in this conversation.
Because his argument is so weak is that he has to go to there every single time.
No, I'm showing you how.
That's how I know I'm winning. So imagine
many star trails at the equator. We see 3 different rotations. We see stars going straight.
2.
The stars off to the right. We see them deviating to the right, and the stars off to the left. You attribute it to being on a globe, but really that's 3 separate star.
No, there's actually only one direction of rotation.
Then why in every equatorial rotation we see measurable deviation?
So you think that 3 rotations is easier than just explaining as 1 rotation, huh?
It's one rotation.
And you call one rotation ad hoc, and you come up with this 3 rotations now.
So if I could have just a second, imagine yourself inside a spherical ball, and on the ball are lots of lights. If you look in one direction, they will rotate clockwise. Just stand in the same point and turn around, and they will be rotating in the opposite direction. But it's still all the same direction.
Our argument. That's our argument.
Your argument is the spherical sphere?
No.
Oh my God!
That's what I just said. You're inside of a sphere with lights on the walls, and it's rotating.
You're looking up at the sky. That's your reference.
How is that analogous to Earth anyway? Inside a sphere, looking at the walls of the sphere. How does that apply to Earth, Brenda?
It's referring to the sphere of the sky. The sphere of the sky is created by the sphere that we're on.
No.
No. The sphere of the sky is only a concept. It doesn't mean that there's a physical sphere up there.
That's correct. He's correct. The celestial sphere is a concept used in celestial navigation for centuries.
Yeah, it's because you guys are confused about why you see the way you do, and you think you're on a giant fucking ball.
Right.
That's why. Yeah.
And you can
a small ball. They're on a tiny ball because it's measured. You can measure it at 6 feet high. They're on a very tiny ball. If it was a massive ball, how the fuck would you measure curvature?
Well, massive.
It'd be flat. It presents itself
if
as delineated.
All of the alien, I don't care how small it is.
It would delineate itself plane to plane as Euclidean, like a reality, if it was a bigger sphere. But if you're telling me that you can measure this 6 foot tiny person, you're living on a fucking tiny orbit object, man.
What are you talking about? I can measure people 6 foot tall. I use a rule.
I don't understand what you're saying either, Data. Why are you saying it's small? Either way, it's the biggest thing we know about.
Curvature. You're telling me that a 6 foot tiny observer can measure curvature with his eyesight, right?
What does that have to do with the size of the overall ball, though, Data?
And then you say that it's a massive sphere. It's a huge sphere. Well, then if that was true, then you shouldn't be able to measure curvature for a tiny little 6 foot person using your eyesight.
Nobody said that.
I don't think so.
Nobody said you can measure the Earth with their eyesight. Nobody said that. Well, shit, on National Geographic,
You're stating that you can.
National Geographic show a helicopter over 6 miles disappeared 27 foot behind a horizon, and come to find out they faked the shit and got busted, and then they showed all kinds of stuff. So yeah, 6-foot observer is supposed to be able to see all this curvature. It's not there.
Nobody said you could actually see curvature when you're 6
So-
foot. Nobody said that. Who said
Listen,
that?
can we go back real quick? Okay, can we just go back real quick to the diverging star trail? So, am I to understand that it's the baller's opinion that from Northern California, looking to the west, that I somehow can see the equatorial ecliptic?
Of course you can, dude. Are you serious?
So you're saying that I can see the rotation of the southern hemisphere from Northern California?
You said the ecliptic, right?
Do you know
the stars? Yeah, the stars on the zodiac, the planets, these things all right along the ecliptic, man. It's not a miraculous.
Yeah, but I'm looking to the west. I'm not looking south.
You were looking southwest.
Okay, well, if you want to be more specific, I'd have to go out and pinpoint where I was, and then be a little bit more intentional in finding out which direction. Okay.
It looks like it looks like you're looking towards the equator because we have the straight line star trails. And if you're in Northern California and the middle of your field of view is
the sun was not
equatorial celestial stars, then you are looking south, obviously.
No, the sun was not setting to the south. I was in Northern California. It was setting to the northwest, and I was looking in that direction.
How wide was your field of view?
What do you mean, how wide was my field of view? I believe that I simply had the camera at like 35 millimeters, so it was a pretty open field of view.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you're looking southwest there because you have the two different star trails as well as straight lines. So you're obviously looking south from your position.
I understand you think that.
I know there's good evidence. I'm explaining exactly why I think that.
Did I just hear pi just a minute ago? Did I hear right? Somebody sounded like pi anyway. Never mind. Don't worry.
Even
on a flat Earth, I still don't understand. You guys haven't made a coherent argument for why we've seen these star trails. Honestly,
Yeah.
you really haven't.
Why would we see two separate? Why would we see diverging star trails just because we're on a ball? Why would the stars separate off to the right toward the north and separate off to the left toward the south? Measurably separated.
We have two celestial poles, man. We have one axis of rotation, and then you're looking perpendicular off of that. So you're going to have these straight lines that
You're missing the point,
and then when you're looking north of that, you're going to have a particular rotation, and when you look south of that, you're going to have an opposite rotation. What's so difficult about this?
Once again, you're missing the point. If I'm falling over backwards in one direction, okay, why would stars deviate to the right and the north and deviate to the left? Measurable separation, bro. If you can measure the separation, okay, however little it'll be, means that it's actual separate star rotations. Not
Yeah, this is essentially
I just
parallax.
explained it, man.
Hold on, let me say this. This is essentially parallax that we're seeing here, if I understand correctly. I could be wrong, but
it is not. No.
well, you have to say it isn't. But why would we see what looks like parallax if these stars are trillions of miles away? That's what I'm asking you to explain to us.
That's not parallax, man.
We don't have to say it. We don't say it. So
your
why are you
explanation
pinning
doesn't make
it
any
on us?
sense.
Because
But Brandon, what do you think parallax is? I'm not trying to dig at you or anything like that. I'm curious. What do you think parallax is? Perhaps there's another.
Well,
term
in this case, I think it means since these are moving over our head, they're getting closer and then getting farther away, and the separation between them will change based on their distance from us.
Huh?
That's what I mean by parallax in this case. Might not be the right way, exact right word to use, but that's probably how I'm.
That
defining
sounds
it.
just like perspective of the relationship between distance and angular size. That's what.
That's what I'm trying to describe. Is this relationship we see here? Why do we see that?
As I said before, you're rotating about one axis and you're looking in two different directions. You're the same observer, You're just looking at two different directions. If you want to say it's a still shot or it's a one direction thing, sure. Now just look perpendicular to the rotation of axis. You're going to see above and below, and then you're going to get these effects.
Bro, it's one lens, bro. It's one.
I know, which
frame,
I just explained
okay?
that. And
He's
you've been
not,
looking at particular
why do you
direction,
keep
you can
saying
get all
he's looking
three.
in two different directions, bro? Why do you keep saying he's looking in two different directions when he's got his camera set up on a tripod? You can't even move it at all, or it'll fuck up the whole fucking scene. And you keep saying two different directions, bro.
I know you're stuck
Do you
on that. Let me
understand? Do you
correct it for you,
understand our
Brian.
argument here,
Let
bro?
me
Tell us
correct
our
it.
argument.
Brian, let me correct what I'm saying because I understand where your hangup is. Yes, one direction. He's looking perpendicular to the axis of rotation. So because he's doing that, he's going to pick up that perpendicular angle, so you get those straight lines due to rotation. And then when you deviate above that, you're going to have when you deviate
Your
above.
only answer can be perspective, bro.
Every time, man. So when you look above this perpendicular angle, you're going to have a particular rotational relationship, and then when you look below that perpendicular angle, you're going to have the opposite relationship.
Bro, so a perspective. So you're saying perspective is
part of it is
causing the
perspective, of
parallax.
course, Brian. Part of it is, but the
the
underlying cause is just we're on a rotating thing, and we're looking above and below this perpendicular.
Stick with your
Brian, in all-
rebuttal. So
in all fairness-
Joel's rebuttal is parallax is being caused from perspective.
Holy shit, man! Did you not hear me say it's not parallax?
Bro, you're not making a claim, bro. The stars are measurably separating from each other. It's one frame. Quit. Anytime you mention two different directions,
false.
you're not being honest because the camera is looking off in one direction, bro. I repeat, the camera is looking off in one direction.
What is separating from what?
They're visibly getting farther apart. What would you call it?
You don't see this like these two right here.
I
Here,
challenge
let
any
me
of you
point it
guys.
out. Let me point it
challenge
out
any of you
here.
guys
So
to
we've got
find
these
when-
two right here. See this line right here? See how it is concave? See how this one is convex? As they move, this one goes this way. It comes closer to this one. And then this one keeps going, it's going to get further away from this one, right?
No, you're viewing stars.
Holy
going
shit.
into
No.
our sphere.
Yes,
You're
what I
staying
just
the same
said
distance
is
apart from
just
one another.
true from what we're looking at, Kosho. I'm not
Okay,
saying
if you put-
anything
if you
but
put
what
those
we're
up-
fucking observing right now in this.
Yeah, I understand. I understand that you're confused about this, dude.
I'm not
But
confused at all.
it's not difficult to understand that they're going around on a
You can have
sphere.
an explanation for why we see it, but you can't deny what I'm fucking looking at.
Yeah, I'm not denying what you're looking at. You're just being confused about looking at a three-dimensional object when it's rotating.
Oh,
When
no,
three-dimensional
I'm
objects
not.
rotate,
You know what?
parts will
Fuck
get
you,
closer and further
Kosho.
away.
Fuck you. Fuck you, fucking agent fucks. Anyone else want to fuck you, Brenda? Fuck you, Peyton Nasa Shill.
In before I'm muted. If you're going to get emotional about it, your argument's not that strong.
No, I'm not going to mute you. You didn't do anything wrong. Except, just can the fucking sophistry. Biodual. If this one moves in a curve this way, and this one moves in a curve this way, when they're here, they're closer than when they're here or down here, correct?
Don't you think we can measure this?
The lines on the fucking video. Yes or no?
Count pixels, bro. That's what your peoples love to count pixels.
Just count it. Just count the pixels. Measure it, and show me the measurements.
This is an easy answer. Do you think that's possibly true, what I just said?
My intuition says yes, that they are increasing in distance between each other. That's my intuition. I don't know actually because I've never looked into it. I've never seen measurements. I've never been presented measurements. So I don't know for sure. My intuition says yes, they are increasing in distance.
Put a ruler up to the screen.
Here's the reality of it. The reality of it is perspective is messing with the stars. There are actual separation, but there's none local. So you're not going to get it. If you go to Stellarium, it's not going to show it because you got to see way off in the distance. You got to see real far to even see it because it's so gentle. If it was obvious, then we'd have a whole different map. You got to look like 6,000 miles away to even see the separation, but it's there. There are at least three. I mean, there could be more, but there couldn't be less. There's at least three different star rotations for sure.
That's why I was telling you to get one on the equator, because if you get one of somebody that's either on or very close to the equator, it's way more obvious.
You have people, Jeremy. Get one.
I don't got many equator
I think
people.
honestly,
I don't know. You said you had people.
I got a couple equator people.
Yeah.
I think honestly, this explanation or this thing, it can be easily explained because you know, in the globe model, some stars are above the North Pole and some are above the South. And of course, those will seem to rotate just above you when you look up. But then the stars above the North Pole should remain in the north. They cannot just stay in the middle. They have to remain up above the North Pole. So they have to seem to rotate away from the other stars going south.
I'm gonna repost this thing. Carnivore had posted it a couple times. I'm just gonna repost it. It's showing like a globe Earth with local stars. Obviously, they're not 18 billion trillion light years away, but it does show the basic structure of what they think, even those local stars. But on a globe Earth, which I don't see dramatic confliction with how this could work if the Earth was a globe, something like this. So I don't necessarily think that this is, I mean, if the Earth was a globe, the stars might be doing something like this. That's why when I brought up earlier the concept of the celestial sphere and how the two basic models, like putting the Earth on the outside of a sphere and spinning it and making the celestial sphere outside of that ball, or having a stationary plane with a celestial sphere or a dome above it that is a similar type of structure. I'm not saying there 100% is a sphere surrounding us in this moment. I'm just saying that there's two concepts that both involve the celestial sphere.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I don't think that this is a strong proof myself, but I could be talked into it. Biodeal, can you see my screen?
Pulling it up right now.
Well, there's so many other issues.
Well, hold on. Biodeal, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. Do you see these two lines right here? These are from the same thing. They're at the same exact angle. They're going from one of these to the other. This star trail to this star trail. You see how this one, these are the same size, these lines. See how this one touches both star trails? And this one is sticking out past this same star trail, meaning that these two lines are now closer together. Do you understand what I was saying now?
Yeah, there you go. Sure.
Would you agree that it appears in our vision, as we see it in this video, that these two star trails, hence these two stars, move closer together here at the center, closer to the center of our vision than farther away?
That's what it appears. Sure. My only
Thank
question
Is it
is,
any coincidence?
See that? Go show. See how easy that is.
I have two things. I presented something in the chat in which let me get back to it. I do want to address that too. I'm not trying to hand wave that. But in the chat before it gets lost, the picture of essentially a sphere with all these lines around it. As you can see that those lines they look different from the equator. They're essentially pointing away from the equator, I guess we can say. But we know that on a sphere, these distances aren't changing. If they're the same latitude, it doesn't matter what shape it appears to look like. If they're the same latitudes, they're going to be the same distance from the equator, regardless of shape. So that goes back to what you are presenting here. Yes, I see two different sized lines. My question would be, from that equatorial perspective, are they the same quote unquote latitude, same distance, or not? Because if they're not, it's like comparing on a globe the 45th degree north and the 50 degrees south. You're going to have some deviations.
What is this cartoon shit?
It's only showing that on a spherical view, we can see these lines look like they're pointing away from each other. If we have a vertical line going across this, it'll look like the top of that is moving up. The bottom is moving down.
How do we apply this to this observation?
Opposite shapes. The same thing that you're presenting in the celestial star trails. You're showing that
if you look
one,
at
it looks like one is going away.
Hold on,
if
Brian.
you look at the magnetic lines, then
Brian,
that's what they
hold
look
on.
like. Yeah.
So what we see in the video that you had, and then what you put lines to, we see that above the equator, we'll just call it above the equator, we see them pointing away from the equator. Below the equator, they're pointing below the equator.
Right.
This is the same principle here, and we know that if you're comparing the same line away from the equator as the same line below the equator, they're not going to be a different distance
What do
regardless
you mean
of what it appears to
principle?
be moving
This is some lines drawn in the shape of a sphere on a to-be-teed piece of paper.
Yeah, that's
What
not
the
even the way
fuck
you
does this
see it
apply
all.
to the observation at all?
I was so goddamn specific about when you're looking away
You
from the
weren't.
equator, how the lines that are forming, such as a time
You're
lapse
making
of
a claim
stars.
right now.
I'm not making a claim. I'm explaining the principle behind what the claim is.
Okay. Does anybody?
The
Does this
claim is that
clear anything up for anybody? Maybe somebody else could try to clarify what the hell he's talking about that understands.
I don't know what he's talking about, but let me riddle you this. How does it happen that people use long time exposures and get sharp point-like stars in their images if they're moving apart?
What else
We
would they
see
get?
them that they're moving apart
No,
in
no,
our
listen.
vision, Chaiki,
Long time exposures
because
that
they're
show
only
stars
tracking.
as point-like, but if the stars is moving
What?
in a long time exposure, it's no longer point. It becomes a line.
Do you know how an EQ mount works?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Does
that's
it
how they do it.
separate
They
the
have an
stars
EQ
away
mount
from
that
each other?
swivels, and to keep it on for astrophotography, something as sensitive as that, where you need to really be tracking closely, they have what's called auto guiding, which is a program that moves the EQ mount slightly on all of its axes to make sure that it is tracking the star so that the slight movements
how
don't
can it
smear the
track?
image as it goes across
How
the
can
sky.
it track? How can it track? First of all, you can do without guide assistance.
Not to that
If
precision, you can't. No.
Yes, you can.
There's
And
multiple
yes, you
forms of
can.
error that come into play.
Yes, and you can. And you keep two stars that are point-like. If they are moving away from each other, there is no way you can keep both of them as point-like, because you're tracking one and the other is getting farther away or closer.
Who's saying that you can do that? Who's
Pikey,
saying you
we
can do
are
that?
What do you
looking.
mean? You
We are
never saw
looking
a
at what
long-time
you're describing
exposure?
can't happen. We are literally looking at what you are saying cannot happen.
No, that's not what we're looking at. Because
So are these
the
are these
long-time
two
exposure I
lines?
Some
see,
sort
the
of panic
stars are
attack.
little
This
dots.
is a panic attack, Jackie. You're just having a panic
I'm
attack.
not at panic attack. You're at panic now.
Yeah,
Because
no,
long
you're
time exposure
insane.
debunks
Yes,
your
I
claim.
just showed. Yeah, he already showed a photo of long time exposure showing convergence
No,
and
that's
divergence
not a
from the
long
same
time
point.
exposure.
You're on crack, Chaiki. We can see the
This
convergence
is
from the same
a
point.
long time exposure, Chaiki.
I can't believe these people are this stupid.
What the
So you
fuck are
have
you
a
talking about,
panic
dude?
attack because we are stupid.
Copernicus didn't have time lapse.
How do they get a crisp, sharp, long time exposures if the stars are moving away from each other?
I think I already answered that. I don't know what the hell
No,
you
you
think the
didn't.
problem is.
Because if you follow one star, the other is moving. That's what you say. That's what you say.
Guy's absolutely out of his mind. He's
All
hiding
right,
from
all
his
right,
own
Chaiki.
claim.
Just
Brandon.
shut up, Chaiki.
Hiding from his own claim. Notice
You
he
can
doesn't have a
All right.
claim to say, I believe this. He's just trying to destroy yours. He doesn't have a claim.
You can have a stationary camera that's doing a time lapse and you can get the track of the stars. Essentially, it's just showing the path. Like, imagine if the stars are like little cars up there going along a track or whatever. That the stationary camera, you're just going to be able, in the long time exposure, you can just see the track it's making.
It's got to be stationary or it don't work.
Shout out Silent Zero, $10. He says, yeah, F them. Yeah, that little red meat for you there, Silent Zero. C4, $2. Biodual, fake. I'll have to read that one on air. Thank you guys, appreciate it.
Is that straight line? When you deviate from that, you're going to have these curved lines that seemingly point away from the center. Does what I presented earlier make more sense so far?
So perspective parallax. Say it for what it is.
Right. If the camera moved just literally 1% out of 360 degrees, 1 degree actually, in a 24-hour period, it would throw off everything. Sorry, we're not moving.
Yeah, but Biodual, you would agree that that same pattern could also work on a, domed or spherical surface above a flat plane.
if the what I would expect on a flat Earth is not two different rotations when we talk about clockwise, counterclockwise. If we're on a 2D plane and everybody looks up in the same direction, we would expect to see the same rotation.
It's at least three.
Exact opposite.
Who are you to
Absolutely
say
insane.
what the
The
sky
exact
can and
opposite.
can't do?
This is insanity.
So
Geo,
in my diagram, what I'm trying to explain is that
spinning. Geo, you understand that we're seeing the convergence and divergence on the same point of view from Earth, pointing in the same direction. We see stars converge and diverge. That's not possible if we're moving at all. That's the point, guys. Why is this so difficult?
I think if the star, I mean, that one that carnivores show with local stars around a globe Earth, I mean, there's another story talking about the stars billions of light years away, but I don't see any huge conflict in terms of that being possible if the Earth was a globe.
No, we can't be moving. You can't move if the
That's
stars
because
are
you're not
converging
thinking,
and
bro. The
diverging.
stars
You cannot
are
be moving.
diverging, bro. From one frame
It's
of
a
reference,
physical-
they
okay,
are
we cannot be
diverging.
moving. The point is the star trails prove we're not moving. This is an absolute fact. You can't demonstrate it unless the stationary surface is stationary.
Yeah, I
Guys,
gotta
so you're not
say,
right with a non-stationary
I
surface.
think I get it. Now, I'm not going to say that I've thought this through 100% because I really haven't looked at this, but that makes a lot more sense than what I'm hearing from the baller panel and your half-baked explanations, your unwillingness to even say that they're getting closer and further apart in the fucking video, and your obfuscation tactics. So you got to come up with something concrete here.
it's not obfuscation.
It's a globe killer, man, because listen, it's either showing perspective parallax,
Look each
which
other's
is a globe killer, or it's actual measuring the separation. Either way, it's a globe killer. 100%. It's either
That's simply false, Brian. That's simply false.
which kills your model.
Right. So what I'm trying to present in the diagram that I just did in a 4 after the hour, I'll repost it because fuck it.
Is a lie.
No, we don't need to look at that again. To be honest with you,
concentric
Bauduel, you need to come up with another explanation because that was nonsense what you posted.
Oh, if you're going to prevent me from explaining it and then ask for an explanation, you need to decide one or the other.
He's reversing the claim. This is like saying we should experience.
I'm not reversing anything. What I'm saying is, on the model, when we're looking up at the celestial star or at the stars,
you're
when we're
already
looking up
hiding
the
from
entire
reality. You want a
diagram,
model
is,
now,
if you want to keep interrupting me, then why complain about the no explanation? Why complain about misunderstanding?
All right, hold on, Exo. All right, go ahead, Bauduel.
With the globe
Go
model,
ahead.
we're looking on the inside of a sphere. So when we're looking on the inside of a sphere, if we draw these concentric circles on the inside from a particular perspective, yes, they do appear to be moving away from each other. But we know in reality, if we're looking at the same latitude above the equator and the same latitude below the equator, the distances never change despite it appearing to. That's the underlying point here.
Dude, I don't care about what your model says. That we're on the inside of a sphere. We're not on the inside of a fucking sphere in your model, by the way.
There is no such he just lied though. There is no model demonstrating anything like that. That's just a lie. They just make shit up. There's no model.
Just fucking totally made up.
Hand wave it away. That's the flat Earth way. Hand wave it away.
He didn't present anything worthwhile.
Complicated. It's too complicated.
Who's that? Hold on, Exo. Who's that? Who's speaking right now? Who's this new guy who grew some balls? So what's your explanation for why we see this convergence and divergence?
I'm saying that you're hand waving away his explanation.
What is your explanation for the convergence and divergence?
I thought it was well.
Well, what is his explanation? What's his explanation? Describe his explanation to us, please.
I'm not going to repeat
His
his
explanation
words.
is perspective
Yeah, get the
parallax,
fuck
which is
out
a
of
globe
here.
killer. His explanation is perspective parallax, which is a fucking globe killer.
It's not possible on a fucking globe, you dolts. You can't have perspective with the stars on your fucking globe.
See, this is the disconnect in which I'm providing diagrams and explanations for things. Brian completely misrepresents
Your
me.
diagrams
Brandon,
and explanations
Brandon,
start
that I
off
said
with,
not
if we're
parallax.
in the middle of a sphere.
So again, you hand wave dismiss everything that I tried to explain, and then Brian comes over and misrepresents me. When you know I said not parallax, Brian says perspective and parallax, and you agreed with him. You have
Let's
no
try
idea
again.
what
Go
you're,
ahead.
what you're
Let's
talking about.
try one more time.
I
Go
don't
ahead.
need to explain it. I'm just showcasing that there are explanations trying to be presented, and then Brian purposely or accidentally, I don't give a shit, is misrepresenting it, and you agree, despite knowing that I
Let
said
me
not
defend
parallax.
myself, dude. Let me defend myself.
No,
So you're
Go
saying
go
that
ahead, Brian.
okay, so he's saying that they are measurably separating from each other, but they're not really measurably separated. We see that, excuse me, we see the measurable separation, but excuse me, it's not really there. That's what we call perspective. Okay, now.
Right, I agree
it's
to
also
that, sure.
called parallax.
Well, it's not parallax.
So own up to what you're claiming, bro. You're claiming
It's not parallax, man.
You're claiming perspective and parallax. Okay, you're saying that we see the separation in the picture or in the time lapse, but it's not really separating. So what are you attributing the separation to?
Oh man, if I could just explain concentric circles like I did already, perhaps you would understand.
Nice try. Nice little obfuscation there. I like
You
that.
can't have them. That's the point. You can't have two
the same thing I've been presenting the whole time.
Why
circles
would you get
on
the
a
star
moving
map and
platform.
stick a camera on a
So
little
for the
globe
record,
and spin it and see
you
what
cannot have
happens
two
there?
concentric circles on the same platform that's moving. I'm sorry.
Right. Anyway, they all come east to west no matter where you're at. And that's not working on a globe to
That's
have
the
two
point,
different
man.
two different ways.
That's the problem. That's the
No,
problem.
he
That's
just,
the
no,
problem with
you're
Phil's
hiding
model.
from the fact. No, you're already obfuscating from the
show
fact
it.
that we're seeing them
He should
converge and
demonstrate
diverge
it,
from the
stars.
same point
Check this
on
out.
Earth.
Check
Not
this out.
moving,
Not
not turning
demonstrate
around. I'm
this.
just going to get talked through like every time. This camera shot, that's a time lapse that I sent Brandon, shows you over this period of 12 hours or 24 hours, if the camera moved 1 millimeter, it would throw the whole thing off. You guys don't use cameras because you're scared to death of reality. You're stuck in a cartoon, and that's why you don't know what we're talking about.
We just use telescopes for long
You can
distance.
demonstrate this.
Yeah,
You can
to hide from
demonstrate
the shape of
this.
the Earth. Exactly, to hide.
I want
and
them to use a room with stars in it the way he claims, flat surface versus globe surface, and show us both compared and what we can't do on each.
That's what I'm saying. You can do this right now, but without getting up.
You've never done it.
There, if you
can't
sit there,
demonstrate
yeah,
it. You'll
I
never
waited
give
for
a
you to
source for it
finish,
ever
man.
being
I waited for you
demonstrated.
to
You
finish
never
when you
will. You'll
went
just
on.
hand wave, dismiss it.
You
You'll
went
just
on.
keep making stuff
It's
up.
fantastic.
You don't have a
All right,
demonstration.
let's all calm down. Let's calm down. Let's hear the next line of bullshit. Go ahead, Kosho.
So a very simple demonstration. If you sit still, right, put your arms out to both sides, and let's call forward, right? Let's call the wall in front of you west, and the wall behind you east. Okay, you can take both your arms all the way stretched out, and you can start rotating your shoulders at the same rate forward. So go backwards and forward. Okay. So both of them are going in the same direction. They're rotating the same. They're rotating the same direction.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yoga.
hold on.
I'm
I'm almost there, sir. Yeah, rotating the same direction.
You're describing perspective.
Yeah, hold on,
Hold on, guys. Let him get this out.
It
This
gets
is a
worse,
classic
buddy.
one. Go ahead.
Rotating
Let's
the
just
same
let him get it
direction.
out. Let's shut up.
They're
Go
rotating
ahead.
the same direction, but from our perspective here, in the middle of the rotation, looking at both sides of it, when you look at one side of the same thing, they're rotating the same direction. One side is going clockwise. You look the other direction, it's going counterclockwise. This is what's happening.
Can I say something, Brandon?
Can I point?
can I
We're
do
not
a
looking in a different
perspective?
direction. This guy is possessed by
can I say
demons.
something,
We're not
Brandon?
looking in a different direction. You
Can I
guys
do
are
a
just insane.
Let
All
me
right,
do an
hold on.
elementary
Don, go ahead.
explanation real quick. Okay,
And
so
you're
say
real
you're on a
flat.
say you're on a highway and you got cars going from your right to left, right? You go across the street and you switch directions. Which way are the cars going now? Appear to be going.
Those are
They
relative
never change directions. They're going from left to right. They appear to
The
be
same
going.
thing,
It's
Kosho.
just
You just
perspective.
explain Max principle.
Exactly. Those are
Right.
called relative
Brandon,
directions.
again, it's worse than that because
Yeah,
we don't
relative
have
directions.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Brandon, I'm just going
Right.
to give the conclusion here. It's much worse than crossing the street
East and
and
west
watching
are
the cars
relative
go in the different
directions.
directions because we're
Yeah, but
seeing
hold
the
on.
stars converge and diverge from the same point of view, which they will never acknowledge, Brandon. They will hide so
Right.
their lives are over. from the
What
fact.
was
They do
just
not have
said?
to
What was
change
just
point
said?
of view.
What was just said about left and right and up and down, and counterclockwise and clockwise,
just gave
forward
it
and
an
back?
out.
These are all
Yeah,
relative
that's-
directions.
They don't have an
North,
out.
south, east,
Chill.
north, south, east,
Well,
and west are not relative
perspective.
directions
This
at
is
all. They're
fucking
cardinal
over.
Do not
directions,
resuscitate.
permanently fixed where they are. That's why we use them, because they're the same for everybody.
If I were you guys, I would be looking to change the subject because you're not making much sense today.
Brandon,
but,
his first
I
Can
heard
I-
Gleam, you said something. Gleam,
Yeah,
you
can I
said
just
something that
switch
kind of
back?
got lost. Yeah.
Yeah, can I just switch back to just ask Biodual, did he watch those videos that were presented to him yesterday, I think it was, or the day before maybe?
For
Steve
the
Torrance's?
models?
Yeah, let me put one in the general chat, which actually shows the stars going 2 different circles. But when you zoom out on the model, it's only 1 circle. I wonder how he modeled that to work.
Yeah, I wonder as
Did
well.
you look at that? Yeah, did you look at that?
Not this particular one. I have it up now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that sucker
Yeah.
saved.
So
That's awesome.
how did he model this?
Yeah, I would look into it if I were you before.
Right. Can you
I've given you
articulate
this
it?
so many times. I mean, it is perspective and refraction.
Right. Can you articulate it or no?
Yes.
That
Okay.
that would have been a better explanation. What Gleam just gave you guys.
They don't like to admit
there is
perspective.
no
They can't listen. They
explanation, though.
cannot.
didn't just
They
give us an
cannot
explanation.
admit perspective, bro. They
Yeah,
cannot
there's
admit
no
perspective.
explanation
But
yet.
you
Here
look
we
at
go.
yeah.
Go on. The diverging lines is what you're bothered about, where you got one diverging going right, one going left. Yeah.
I'm not. It sounds
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
That's
Just
what
at
you're
the
complaining
distance.
about.
We're
You've
just
got the
wondering. We
2
see this
circles.
observation.
Yeah, and you've
You
got
see
one
this-
little curl going right, one going left. Now, if you imagine, there's these things called crepuscular and anti-crepuscular sun rays, where across your sky, they're actually in your model, in the globe model, they're parallel. But due to your perspective, they appear to diverge and converge, don't they?
Sure, they have that appearance, but they are parallel. Sure.
Exactly. So when you've got a parallel, let's say a record, you know, an old vinyl record with grooves in it. If you imagine looking up at that, now you being a small ant, you cannot see the whole night sky. You can only see a proportion of that because you have a limited field of view. Now, if you look to the left of that, you're looking at the outer edge of the record. Okay, let's say you're halfway on the equator. You're looking halfway at the outer edge onwards. Yeah. So your actual perspective makes it appear to bend leftwards if you're looking straight out. Now, the inner circle of the record label is the North Pole, and that would appear to bend to the right. But because you can't see the whole thing, you will never see both circles at exactly the same time in exactly the same position above the horizons.
None of that makes sense. Just to be as blunt as I can, as quick
Yeah,
as I can.
can I just say,
will
add to
explain,
that
I
and
will
say,
elaborate.
makes sense to you, but it's been
I know,
modeled.
I will elaborate. I'm not just going to hand wave
Yeah,
and
it
say
doesn't make
bullshit
sense
and then
to
that's
you.
it. I'd like to elaborate on why I
Yeah,
think
no,
that
that's
is.
cool. You
Right.
can, but it doesn't make sense to you. Just say that because it
beautiful,
made
beautiful.
sense to Steve and it makes sense to me.
It
That's
made
beautiful.
no
I can
sense to me
elaborate.
either.
I can elaborate. If you have a, let's say we do have this record, and each of those lines represents a single star in a trail in a time lapse. If we have this record and we have it above us, and we give a shit at the distance, just very far, and it's hugely blown up. In what way, me looking up zenith, I have a particular direction in which this record spins, and I see the trails going in a particular direction. Let's call it clockwise. In what way do I now change my angle towards the south, and then I see a different rotation just by doing that? That's the
We're not
part
claiming
that I
one record.
disconnect
You
with.
just hit, yep, you're hiding from the fact that we're not claiming one concentric trail. We're claiming multiples, which means multiple records, multiple gears in the sky. So you're scared to death of what we actually see. Thanks.
Beautiful, because Gleam provided one record and then different viewing angles.
That's all is needed, and that's all is used in Steve Torrance's model. You should look through the videos
you're
that I
letting them have a
gave
way
you.
out, though, Gleam. You're giving them a way out, Gleam.
No,
as soon
not
as
if
you
it's
say
been
one
modeled to
record.
work. If it's been
There
modeled
is
to
no
work
model.
and
There
he
is no
doesn't know.
model. There's no
All
model.
right,
There's no such thing as a
I
model.
give him
let's
the
try.
model.
Hey
We live
guys,
on a
guys,
model.
guys.
No
We're getting
such
we're getting into the interruptions. XO, please, no interruptions. Let's just have a conversation. Plenty of time to call out what we think is incorrect.
I mean, the core thing is, if you really, really, really wanted the answer to the question, and I give you a model a couple of days ago, I mean, did you actually watch any of them?
I watched a few of them. I didn't watch this particular one, no, but I did watch a few of them.
Yeah, that was one of them anyway. But
He
either
has
way,
many, right?
Yeah, he has hundreds. It took him
okay.
3-4 years to build the model.
Right,
This is
beautiful. So I
not.
didn't
This
watch
is
them all,
not.
no.
Yeah, this is not a quick overnight thing. You know.
I agree, sure. So it's not surprising I haven't watched this particular one. But since you're presenting it and you're articulating something, we can conversate about it, right?
Yeah.
For that
But you
guy who just said
understand.
there's no model.
No, wait,
there
hang
are
on.
terabytes
Hang on,
of
hang on, hang
information.
on, hang on. You
Oh,
understand, though, Bio, that he has modeled it and it looks like reality.
I understand that he has modeled it. What I'm having issues with is the articulation of how the models develop and the predictive power behind it, as well as the what is happening. And I think your simple explanation of a giant record in the sky, I have no problem with that so far. My problem is
He's got
how
it
it
modeled out
changes the
100 years from now.
Brian,
bro.
hold
How
on,
is the
Brian.
predictive power?
The specific issue I have here is that you're presenting a one direction rotating thing, and you're saying just by slightly changing my viewing angle, it's going to appear to rotate in the opposite direction. So when it was clockwise at zenith, now I changed my viewing angle slightly. Now it's rotating counterclockwise. That's the specific problem and disconnect I have.
Yep. Well, you need to look it up because he zooms out of that specific view, that exact view of being small ant on the Earth. Yeah, he zooms out and he shows you the record player.
Well, I have seen these particular video that you posted, Klim, and my issue with it is it doesn't seem. Yeah, it doesn't seem like reality.
Somebody else.
It
doesn't seem like reality. That's hard hitting.
Yeah, like those lines are twisting and warping and bending to hell and back. That's not reality. That's just not reality. So if we're taking this seriously, I can seriously say that I would run away from this model if I was a flat earther, and I would say, oh no, I'm ashamed of this. This is complete garbage.
Yep, you run. You completely run.
No, I would run if I was a flat earther because that's what they do. They run.
Huh?
Yeah, another non-clan.
And globe earthers don't, Laurie. They don't run into.
We run. That's why we've got an open panel with you allowed. Hold on, Laurie. Hey, Laurie, shut up. We've got an open panel that we've invited you to come in here and talk to us about what we believe is going on in the world and what you believe is going on in the world. How the fuck is that running away?
Yeah.
Every day, open panel, we listen to you guys.
Well, if Klim is gonna throw the lines like "you're running away" when I just presented a criticism of him or of
you just criticized all of FE. You said that's what FE. That's what FE does.
Flat earthers were running away.
Yeah,
idiot.
of course you guys are running away.
Don't try and project your shit onto me, you little lying scumbag. Shut up.
If Klim can do that to me, I can do that to you. So is the line don't do that?
See.
Shut
okay,
up,
then the line is don't do that.
All right, shut up,
So
Laurie.
Klim is a scumbag for doing that. There you go.
Fine.
Brandon, can you pull this video up? It's part of Steve's collection, and I think this is what.
And Laurie, why the divergence, buddy? Why
about the zoom out and then
I want
zoom
to
in
ask
back
Laurie.
in.
No,
The
Brian,
divergence. The divergence.
Brian, if
the
you've noticed, they've been
divergence.
hiding
This
from
model is
Brian,
shit. This
real
model
quick,
is shit.
Brian,
And again, this model
he
is
wants
shit.
to talk about a cartoon model. That's another escape, guys. If you give them another cartoon model, it's just going to lead them down a mouse hole. So, yeah, if you notice, Brian, they're scared to death of that fact. That's why they've hidden from it for about 45 minutes. Thanks.
Yeah, beautiful. That's why I'm posting Gleam's videos. So anyway, we're going to ignore you now. So Brandon, when you're watching this at the 26th, we're not going to get into this fucking bullshit, Brian. At the 26-second mark, this is where my disconnect is. I understand this record, this giant record in the sky, and I think everyone can understand that at least imaginatively. But when it gets to describing the celestial star trails, what happens at the 26-second mark? Can anyone fucking explain that?
Okay, hold on. If you take
Gleam is the one presenting this.
mount,
First of all,
go to the
Gleam is
equator.
presenting this, so if he wants to answer or if anybody else is endorsing this model, I don't know well enough to know either way. I haven't looked at it.
Listen, Brandon, if you take an equatorial mount and you go to the equator, okay, and you look off to you're looking at stars toward the north, okay, your mount is going to be pivoting away from the equator like a loop, okay, and then if you're going to track stars to the south, it's going to pivot the opposite way. That, my friend, is actual fucking deviation. You have your equatorial mount pivoting away from each other in two latitudes. That is, dude, that is a problem for the globe. That is actual separation, bro.
Well, we can talk about that for sure. But Gleam, do you want to address what Biodual has
the
said?
explanation for that is it 26 seconds. It's when it goes from a God frame of reference if you understand that terminology, into a human frame of reference. So going from the sky, looking at the whole of the flat Earth, where you can see from one side to the other. You know how you do all your maths, as if to say, yeah, when you do angles Polaris, we've got to pretend that we can see 12,000 miles right the way over to the other side. Yeah, so like that, you remember? So what it is going in from... Here we go. Here's a good analogy. You know when Google Earth goes from satellite imagery to aerial photography? That is what he's doing. He's going from his satellite photography, zooming down into his aerial photography, but he's actually going onto the land and setting up a camera as he'd set up, done in the Star Trails.
There's no explanation as to why we get this different
There is.
rotation.
There
What's
is.
being presented here is the record.
No, you just
we won't
didn't
disagree
know
on the
the
record or the
explanation.
direction. And then
You don't
I'm
know
going
the
frame by
explanation.
frame in this video in which it goes
There are
from
many
the record in
videos
the
you need
sky,
to watch.
then it's incredibly distorted, then it turns around and it's claimed that it's going in an opposite direction. Where is the explanation as
where
to
is
why
it incredibly
this different
distorted?
perspective, this different
Where's it?
angle? I provided frame by frame, man. It's in the chat.
No,
Frame by frame.
it's incredibly distorted on the horizon on all of them. You know why that is?
I understand. There is a specific
No,
issue that I've mentioned
I don't think you
multiple
do.
times now.
I don't think you do. Why do you think it's all bent at the bottom bit?
The extreme refraction, more shit to look through, so it's going to be more distorted, of course. I'm giving you the specific reason or specific issue I'm having between the disconnect of a record spinning in one direction and then changing your angular view and its opposite direction. And it's not just lines in opposite direction, it is points in the sky. So if it's fucking it up enough to make it appear to move in the opposite direction, how can we still see these point sources of light?
Okay, so you've got a 6 on the floor. You move over, you look at it from the opposite direction, it's a 9. The actual curl is going in the opposite direction. Why is that?
Yeah, if you take those same circles you just made, and you said in the circles, the 6 or whatever they are, they're going in the clockwise, you can go anywhere along that surface and do the same thing. They're going to be going clockwise.
Yeah, the 6 is
right.
going
The
clockwise.
6 and the 9 have the same rotational
9
direction. If you start at the line and you end where the circle
The
is,
9 is
on the
upside
6
down,
when
though.
you start, you're going. Sure, it's upside down, but you're not changing the rotational direction.
Yeah, the
Again, if you start
rotation.
at the line part of the 6 and the
I am.
end
It's
at the circle part of the
180
6,
degrees different.
hold on, man. You're going. The rotational direction of forming that 6 is counterclockwise. When you do it, the same thing with the 9, and you start at the line and you end at the circle, you're still going counterclockwise, despite it being upside down.
How do you? I
is
don't know
why
how
William's
you were
argument-
taught how to write 6s and 9s. How do you do it? Do you do it from? Let's say you start at a 6.
So you're
Do you
running
do it
away
at the
from the
top?
point because
No, this is the point.
No,
No, this
we
is
do
the point.
split upside down.
This is
Hold
the
on,
point.
let's keep it to Gleam and Bio. Let's just let them
Yeah,
go back and
Bio,
forth on this.
This is the point. Follow the pen in the direction that you draw it. Go on.
Yeah,
6.
perfect.
Do you
Start
start
at the
from the
line
middle
part.
bit or the top part?
No. Start at the line point. Start at the same starting point on each number. Start at the line, end with the circle. You're going to be forming counterclockwise movements. Despite it being upside down, the rotational direction is still the same.
Okay, so if I start a 6 from the point and go round anti-clockwise,
Right.
yeah, and then start the 9, go anti-clockwise.
Right, and you're going to form the 9. They are opposite, like up and down. They've been flipped, but the rotational direction is the same.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's what we're claiming. Yeah, welcome to Flat Earth.
You have no idea how to expand on that next. Not you, Glenn. That was correct. So,
Thanks. Yeah,
but
who's
you
next?
understand
No,
what I'm
that's
saying.
the flip. No, I get that. It's the flip that is what I'm saying is the thing that is changing the rotation.
Okay. Two things before we get lost with that. You just said that it's flipped and it's changing.
If
rotation.
one of you guys could
We
stream,
just
it would be a lot
established
better.
6 and 9. We just established that 6 and 9, when flipped, don't change
Bro, a
rotational
9 is
direction.
not a mirrored 6. Biodual, a 9 is not a mirrored 6. It is only flipped one way. It's not flipped the other way. You are wrong.
What have I not? What have I said outside of flipped, Brian? In what way have I described the 6 and the 9? If not,
Bro, why
saying
won't you address the equatorial mountain from the equator, looking off to the north? And looking off to
I'm
the south?
totally ignoring you right now, Brian. Me and Gleam were talking about something, and I thought we
Yeah,
were
Brian,
making
hold on,
progress.
man. Let's let Gleam and Bio
Okay.
go back and forth on this.
So yeah, Gleam, I understand that it's flipped. When we're looking at this record and you're looking in one direction, it would be, you know, this 6. When you turn around 180 degrees, now you can call that a 9. Sure, they're flipped, but the rotational direction has not changed with 6 and 9. There's no reason for the rotational direction of the stars to change just with that description.
Okay, well, you need to look into the video more because it's due to the limited perspective of that record, as I explained before.
If we can't go any further, that's fine. We can leave it at that. Sure.
You have to look into. You have to look into it. Look
Yeah,
into the
Bio,
very
earlier-
first one that I cited you yesterday, and that's saying "Flat Earth Star Trails Problem Solved." That's the title of the video.
Yeah, I'll
It's interesting, Bio. Earlier you said, I haven't looked into it. I haven't watched the videos, but I'm struggling with the concepts and the predictive power. How can both of those things be true at the same time?
Because what Gleam provided here was a 30-second video in which I watched it.
No, you said that before we watched the video.
I didn't. No, I didn't. I said I watched the
supplied
videos.
Loads.
Or I watched some of the videos, of course. But he provided the 30-second video in which it was explaining this interaction, the model. And that's when he said, look into the model, look into the other videos. And I said, I haven't watched them all, obviously. And this is a new one. So after I saw that, I had a very specific issue about the articulation for it. After the articulation, Gleam gave that explanation of a record. Then we explored that. Then there was another video that he brought up where it's a zoom out version and you zoom in. I found that, and we're continuing that conversation.
Brandon, can I try and explain?
I've just put that first one. I've just put that first one in the chat. Either way, that is, if you rewind it back, it's time stamped. But that's the one you should have watched first, because that is the explanational video. All of the ones after, the evidence ones, that where he went to that country, done the star trail, and then replicated it on the flat Earth model.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't get how you're saying that it's the same direction.
Thank you.
Like if you have a 6, you draw on the paper in front of you from the tip to like the inside curl.
Sure.
You're gonna start from the top right, and you're gonna go left, and you're going clockwise, right?
You're going counterclockwise.
No, you're clockwise.
Right after this, Brian. Right after this, Brian. Right after this. Let him finish.
At the beginning, you're going top right. You know, you're making the curl, going clockwise.
You're going counterclockwise. No, you're starting at the 1 o'clock position, and you're going towards the 12 o'clock position, and then you're going all the way around until you get to the 6 o'clock. Then you're moving right, and then you're going towards the middle.
Hold on.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Brian.
Okay. Now, instead of a 6 and a 9, I'm going to put this in perspective and watch them weasel out of this. Let's take 2 equatorial mounts. Okay, they're both looking east at the equator. Okay, but one of them's looking southeast, the other one's looking southwest. Okay, now we pick a star at 45 degrees south and 45 degrees west. Okay, now there's a pivot. The equatorial mount pivots. The way you see the sun across the sky, it kind of goes over to the right, and then it as it gets overhead, and then it starts deviating back. Okay, that's the way the equatorial mount is. Okay, so now if we have 2 of them lined up, one of them pointing north, one of them pointing south, they are starting off at 45 degrees away from each other. So they're basically making what looks like a right angle almost. But just now, as the stars get overhead, they start tracking toward each other. Okay, and then as they start going away in the west, the telescopes start looking more away from each other and wind up back at 45 degrees. That is actual separation. The equatorial mount would not work on a globe, period.
It was so difficult to follow you when you started out with they're both looking east, then one's looking southeast, southwest. Then you said they're both, one's north, one's south. It was so difficult to follow what you were saying, Brian.
Okay, well, picture one of them, Bio. Picture one of them.
No, it went sideways, Brian. It didn't make any sense.
I think I know what you're talking about, though, Brian. You're saying if you have 2 equatorial mounts, and there's 2 stars, and you're at the equator, one's looking 45 south, one's looking 45 north at a star. As they each come up on the horizon, they're going to be separated, and then as they're at the zenith, they're going to be closer, and then as they move back down to the horizon, they're going to separate again. Is that what you were saying? No.
Globers can't acknowledge.
Yeah, thank you. That, my friend, is how an equatorial mount kills. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Brian, they'll never acknowledge it. Watch, they never will.
I think that would actually work perfectly on the globe, you know.
Biofuel, just to finish it off.
Measurable separation, pal.
Sorry,
the
just
only thing you can attribute to is perspective, which kills your globe in other ways.
Yes, Brian, they believe globes can spin in different directions at the same time. That's how stupid these people are.
That's more retrograde with Mercury.
They won't even comprehend.
Kango 24. Fun fact of the day. Equatorial mounts only work on a globe by having one rotational axis parallel to the Earth's axis of rotation. Kango 24, thank you. Stuck back in 2015 as usual. And Kango 24, $5 New Zealand. Brandon, you and your gang of dummies go buy my first book of shapes for babies and learn some geometry. Well, that'd be a good place to start to undo all the bullshit that you and the rest of the establishment and heliocentric nutcases have been jamming in our heads our whole life. So I might just take you up on that offer. Thanks, Kango.
God. You could sit there with your arms to both sides and you could be looking forward.
Insanity.
And you could see both your fists.
Look away.
You could see both your fists in your peripheral.
Yep.
And then the exact same thing would be happening. You'd be looking forward. That's what the center of your sight will be. That two ends of your sight peripheral will be your two fists rotating one single direction, but appearing to be rotating one counterclockwise and the other clockwise.
He hid from it again. It's not a single. Listen,
You're smart enough,
okay,
guy.
but Brian,
Look at equatorial
Brian,
star
you notice what he did, Brian?
And then measure the separation.
There's two concentric circles, Brian. He's hiding from the fact that there's two concentric circles. Like I predicted, they will never acknowledge it. Period.
Look at the.
That
look
was
at the
part of my
Gleam just posted.
explanation.
Look what Gleam just posted.
These people are unbelievable.
Yeah,
That
that's
was part of my
exactly it. And
fucking
follow the
explanation.
grooves round
What do
as
you
if
mean
it's on a record.
not acknowledging it? That was my explanation in two fucking diagrams.
You had none. No, that's the point. It doesn't work on a ball. Yeah, it works on a flat surface. That's the point. Yeah, it's
Quick
converging.
question,
What do you think I
Biofuel.
showed here? What do you think I showed in my diagram?
Because you're on
Concentric
crack,
circles.
dude. You're
How
on
do you,
crack.
How do you
don't
say
even understand
we're
your own
avoiding
claim.
it?
All
when
right,
part of
all
my
right,
diagram
all
and
right. Come on.
You don't even have a
was
claim.
just that. What the fuck
All
is
right,
happening?
chill out.
You don't have
chill
a
the
claim.
fuck out.
Biofuel, quick final question from me because I've got to get off.
Sure, man.
Either way, Mercury retrograde. You know about that, yeah?
I don't have enough information. I've heard the term.
Okay.
I've just never.
Okay, it appears to go backwards in its orbit because of perspective. Okay, look into that, and that will start you off on your journey. There we go.
All the planets have retrograde.
Refraction. Yeah.
Might not even be
Refraction only works.
What is
Might not even actually. These guys have fucked their optics up so
Mercury is not
much.
the only-
It might not even be fucking going backwards. Who fucking knows?
Mercury is not the only planet that does retrograde. They go retrograde because we're supposedly going around the sun. They're supposedly
Yeah,
going around
let's
the
hear
sun.
that again.
And retrograde is
Yeah,
the apparent reversal in the sky
Oh,
for the direction.
yeah.
The apparent reversal, exactly what we've been talking about all night. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.
It's not at all what we've been talking about.
Yep. Since we can't find Earth curvature, let's just spend the rest of our lives talking about the stars, which also disprove the globe.
You can
Well, we
describe
actually-
how you measured the flat Earth if you'd like. Give us the dimensions.
It's already been done. There is
As
no
long as you
dimension.
guys don't
Flat plane of
hijack
It's
angular
already
size
been
change.
done. Yeah, the entire plane of existence already depends on a flat stationary Earth. Thanks. That was easy.
So what's the square mile?
Is there
Hey,
like a heliocentric model?
Engineering of Earth curvature
Yeah,
calculated.
measurable.
angular size change.
Hold up, is there a
No
heliocentric
engineering.
model that kind of works out as the planets are moving around the sun, the retrograde motion of the planets, like how it goes forward and it goes back, and something that we can actually visualize it?
Give them
it's
a way
all
out.
calculated.
Well,
Part of
EXO,
our
why
seemingly
do you hold on, EXO, why do you do that? Why do you always criticize every fucking question or topic we bring up every single fucking time, dude?
No, I don't. I don't. It just seems that way because it's very painful when I speak, Brandon. I apologize for that. But that's the thing is that when these people kill themselves, why do we resuscitate them?
Yeah.
I appreciate you never put your lips on me.
Thanks. Sorry.
It's a fair criticism, but I guess that's what we do here. You know, we don't want to close ourselves
That's
off
true.
in a echo chamber.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. No, you're right, Brandon. But here's another thing that I want you to know, that there is no they don't believe in a heliocentric model anyway. So it's like we're the Three Stooges going back and forth.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah, that's actually correct. We believe in the camel-centric universe. The camel is
They
at the
believe,
center.
yeah, they
Thank
believe
you.
in a
You know what we
Satan-centric.
believe.
Yeah, they believe in a Satan-centric universe. It's known as the Great Attractor, another name for Satan. Thank you.
Huh. Never heard that one before.
Also, we actually believe in a pyramidical universe spinning in 3 systems, rotating upside down. That's what we believe.
Oh, tell us about it.
Lori,
Can't
hey,
wait to
Lori,
see some evidence
how
for
come
it.
if I have Lori, if I have 2 equatorial mounts at the equator, one looking north, one looking southeast, why are they further apart off in the distance and then converging closer together as they get overhead and then spreading back out off in the distance again? Why is that, Lori? Would you call that actual separation, Lori?
I would actually say that they should not actually separate, but the points that they are pointing to would separate.
There you go.
So they know we're on a globe. So equatorial mounts know we're on a globe
they
in
know.
what way they're supposed to go in the north and the south.
There you go.
These people are brainwashed, dude. I promise you, dude, y'all are fucking brainwashed, man. I love y'all, but oh my God, y'all are you just think anything we say is automatically wrong because we're saying the Earth is not curving. But where is the curve, bro? And look at pilots. You look off in the distance. Where's the curve? I say just a little bit further.
The question,
Can't ever see the curve.
The question that you're asking now, right? Maybe having the first pondered it. These are things that the position of and the movement of these things, a 3-dimensional object rotating and being viewed orthographically, or I'm sorry, whatever it's called, from the side. These things have been understood already. It's not people just claiming that you're wrong because we think you're wrong. This is how things are viewed. It's how 3-dimensional objects are viewed.
No.
Just say what you're saying, bro. Just sum it up. Perspective. So you're saying perspective, right?
Quick, get him CPR.
He's not gonna say it. Hey, Gordzilla has a question for you, Kosho. Maybe you want to answer this one.
As soon
Gordzilla
as he claims
37.
perspective, I'm gonna come crashing down on his ass 5 different ways.
Brian,
Sorry.
I know, Brian.
I actually also had a
Surely,
question.
if you're hold on, here's the question.
Yeah,
Godzilla 37 has for Kosho. Surely, if you're standing on a sphere, Kosho, you would have proved it by now, years later.
Yeah, I mean, I proved it to myself in about two minutes. You can't prove something to somebody who delusionally believes something that's wrong.
Right, we're all delusional, right?
Change their mind.
Are you here to help us? Are you here to save souls, Kosho?
No, we're here to talk about the subject just like everybody else, man.
But you think we're all delusional, but you come here and talk to us every day.
There's Globers who are delusional. Delusion is not exclusive to flat earthers, but it is a delusional
If Copernicus
belief.
had equatorial mounts, or if Copernicus had
Maybe you have a delusion.
lapse,
Would you know it if you
we wouldn't
did?
be in this situation.
If you were delusional, Kosho, would you know that you were delusional?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I wouldn't, but what I wouldn't have is evidence of
Trait of being delusional is thinking everyone else is delusional.
If I didn't have evidence for belief, and I'm constantly being showed that the contrary has plenty of evidence, and I stubbornly discard it,
Yeah,
it's called being
the best
delusional.
evidence is
Well, what if the
audio
evidence
hyphen,
is
yeah.
deceiving you? The
Sure, I
very
picked an
evidence.
equatorial constellation, dude. I picked an equatorial constellation of Orion, which goes over the equator, and I showed it 9 months out of the year, bro. That is not fucking possible, bro. On a ball, you're looking in the whole opposite direction 6 months later.
Who told you Orion was over the equator?
A lot of it is over the equator. What are you talking about? Look it
Yeah,
up.
part of it. If you're talking about constellations that are over the equator, then you use the zodiac.
No. I picked a constellation you can see from the north and the southern hemisphere to show you that six months later you'd be looking in the entire opposite direction, bro.
Most of the stars in the sky. Yeah, you can see a bunch of stars from both the north and the south. That's because you can see them both north and the south doesn't make it.
That argument works if you're talking about the the Polaris or something. But for something that can be seen in the northern and southern hemisphere, then you'd be looking in the entire opposite direction, Coach. So 6 months later, that's your model dictates it, bro. Your model is not fucking humanly possible.
You
bro.
use the zodiac stars if you want to make that argument, because those are the stars that are on the
Seeing
equator.
Mercury in the daytime is not. I mean, seeing Mercury, period, is not possible. Seeing Venus is not possible.
Why?
Stellium eclipses are not
All right,
possible.
Brian,
Bro,
you're gonna have
model's
to
done, bro.
bring some evidence for some of that. These star things a lot of these supposed star proofs that people bring up, when we look into them, these guys always have a fucking out, and it's never conclusive. I would love to see your analysis though, but I do want to try something new. This episode right now, and just kind of go down the list and see if some of the people who may not be as vocal in trying to talk want the opportunity to say something or bring a subject up, the people who don't get to talk that much. So I'm just going to go down the list, and the people that, in my opinion, haven't talked that much this episode, call your name. If you don't want to say anything, I'll just keep moving, okay? All right. 8D is a micro penis. Oh, shit. Okay. Chad. What's up, man? No? Conrad. Enigma. See how this works. Face 1. Farming ganja.
Chad just came off mute, Brandon. Sorry.
Oh, did he? Go ahead, Chad. What's up, man?
None, just listening, but I kind of got distracted. The show ain't over, is it?
No, I'm just going down the list of people who haven't talked that much and calling their name and see if they want to say anything.
Oh boy, if I ever start paying attention. Yeah, going good so far. Thanks.
All right. Yep, just giving people an opportunity. There's no pressure. Farming ganja.
I got nothing. I'm just listening to the double speak.
Cool, man.
And yeah.
Yep, it's quite illustrative. F.E. Walker. First Incubus. And James Richard. Jace. Oh, there's James.
I was gonna say, go ahead. I'll keep going down the list.
Okay. Carnivore. Kid Motorbike. Lono Tomo. Matrix Media J. Naps. Sin Cleanser. This is not going very well. Punctured Ball. Rakia Life. Rob. Rodney B.
Rob.
What's up, Rob?
Hey, Brandon. I wanna.
Yeah?
I haven't been able to watch most, but I've been following along with most of this conversation today. The converging and diverging star trails, is that just an image that has been brought up?
Yeah, the one that we were talking about specifically was, but there's lots of them floating around.
Somebody repost it in the general while I have a minute here.
Yeah, I'll find the video and post it in there for you.
I've seen a few. I have seen a few of these, and I don't want a video. I want just the picture that started this conversation.
Oh, XO can maybe give it to you. I think it was him that brought it up.
Because I've seen one, and it looks like it's on the equator, taking star trails going up and over and splitting off. No, Biodeal, that's not the picture.
Yeah, like.
But anyway, the photo I'm thinking of is star trails that seem to converge and then diverge. And then it was, as far as I know, I don't know anybody that's actually done that time lapse and what camera they use.
Travis, that's the one we were looking at. That's the one I brought up. It's Travis's time lapse, and I believe he was using his P1000.
Now, okay, I don't have any of the data, so that's all. I wanted to. Okay. I know I've seen one, and I was told, and what seemed to make the most sense to me is they were using a fisheye lens, pointing it straight up, kind of.
It might be camera related.
Converging and diverging.
Well, realize this though, Rob, is that they will not acknowledge that point, Rob. Even if you had evidence from it, like Brenda said, she said that's not happening. She just literally says that's not what we're seeing.
Yeah, I know they say we do that, but I know that.
Yeah.
I could probably reproduce that same image if I had a fisheye lens and a star trail camera.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
But
all right,
they,
thanks,
they
Rob.
don't say anything about that. That's
Clean
all I
posted,
had.
All right, buddy.
Yeah,
Rodney
the
B.
one Gleam just posted that something like that would be caused with the
That's why I
fisheye
brought up
lens.
equatorial mount. So people don't
Thanks,
blame
Bruce.
the
All right.
lens. That's why I brought up the equatorial mount, Rob.
Rodney B. Seek and Find. Silent Zero. Tony B. Oh, there's Silent Zero.
I have, yeah, just a quick comment. Their whole model is built based on the misunderstanding of optical effects and perspective, what it does. Their entire model. And it's pretty sad to hear the fucking arguments day in and day out. They won't move 1 inch. Like they don't open their mind.
Don't let it
Bro,
get to you.
I had that's why I didn't get into the conversation today because man, it's ridiculous. Like they won't budge a little bit, bulge or whatever is the word. Like move. So yeah, that was my comment, Brandon.
All right, man. Yeah, do not let it get you down, dude. Do not. It's not worth it. XO, Tony V. And Witless Protection and Branch. All right. I thought I'd give that a try.
Somebody else should speak. I don't want to say anything until they're ready.
Yeah, no, we're good now. Floor is open. Just wanted to go through everybody and see if anybody had anything they wanted to bring up. Open topic.
All right, cool. Can I address Brian's actual point on the Serenelli eclipse? I like a Glober to explain how a shadow casts a shadow.
Whereas
Shadow
a shadow
doesn't-
casts a
Shadow's not casting a shadow. There's a shadow. There's a shadow on the moon, right? The shadow's on the
Right,
moon. That's
yep,
so the images of the moon. The moon's image, where the shadow on it, is what's being refracted. Okay, so the moon's
So
entire
a
image and
shadow's
everything on it,
refracting
the
a shadow?
shadows and everything
Right,
are being
yep.
refracted. It's not that hard.
So the
Yeah,
shadow
he's admitting he
refracting
can't
the shadow.
trust his. Yep, he's admitting he can't trust his eyes, so he has no point, no claim. Yep.
I would like to point out on Brian's example using the EQ mounts. I would like to know where those EQ mounts point 12 hours after they point to zenith.
At the ground.
What's that now?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Look
Yeah.
at what's the sunset the suncount.org. Go to sun.org and look at the half circle the sun spins. Okay, it's like an elliptical half circle. And then look at it in the summertime in the northern hemisphere and ask yourself, why isn't that 2/3 of a circle instead of half when it's only supposed to be, we're on a globe, so it should be half of this. I mean, we get about 16 hours of daylight, okay, at peak summer. So why is it 2/3 of a circle? Why is it still only half of a circle, Howard? Because it's only spinning half a circle, pal. Y'all don't think deep enough, man, to be in this conversation, bro. You don't understand.
I wish you knew.
I
wish you knew.
want to stay with the equatorial mount. So if you track a star at the north, let's say 60 degrees, and you can track a star in the south 60 degrees, the angle between them would be 60 degrees. So how can the angle remain 60 degrees always between those two stars if they are getting far away from each other?
Because off in the distance, they're different. It's different perspective.
What?
We acknowledge perspective, Chikey. How many axes? Hold on. How many axes
perspective
are
in the
there
distance? Okay, Brian.
on an equatorial mount? How many axes? Are there on a solar? I mean, on a equatorial mount? Two,
One.
right?
One,
Because we're
one.
not just going in one direction, okay?
One.
You're trying to attribute that shit to the sun, but if you put two of them next to each other, you're
There's
going to
two,
find
Chikey.
You're just not looking.
One.
There's two,
Chikey,
right
how does it
ascension
track
and
the star
declination,
after it
mate.
goes out of view?
Dude, I'm looking at the star that is 60 degrees at when it's high. Yes, and it doesn't matter from that time on, or the minute you have the star in the center, it will remain in the center for the whole time, moving along one axis, one only. In case you didn't know how they work.
You have to set the other axis. There's
You,
two
you
axes.
set the other
right
axis,
ascensions
and you don't care about it once it's
declination.
set. Once
Yeah,
it's
so you
set.
set two axes. He was right. Then there's two axes
Yes,
to set.
so there's 60 degrees between the two stars for the whole fucking time.
But
No,
there's two
no, no, no,
axes.
no,
But
not in
if
the
they're
distance,
changed,
Nike.
if they're
Nike, you're
getting
mistaken,
closer
bud.
or diverge, there can't be the same angle between them. Can it?
Travis's video showed that they are
I don't care
not,
about
bro. What are
Travis's
you
video. I'm
talking
talking about
bro?
equatorial mounts.
Yes.
You
How
have-
does the equatorial? Yes, Jackie. How does the equatorial mount track the stars? Would you like to explain that?
It rotates
two
around single
axes.
axis. That is.
Yes, it's designed right. It's designed to move that way, right? It moves in the same motion as the stars moving.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it
Chucky,
moves
if you
as
don't
the
understand what
Earth
I'm
is
saying,
moving.
then just go all
See,
the
you
way to
can't even-
the
I can't get the
Polaris
basics out
and
of these
Sigma.
people.
Hold on,
They've
Brian.
never used
Let
it, they have no idea.
Exo go ahead, Exo.
Who is that? I must have him muted, dude. I'm sorry, man.
It's me, Brian. Maybe I have you muted. No, I don't.
Oh, that would make sense.
I don't have anybody muted, but yeah, Chaiki, does it continue to track stars when they're out of view, Chaiki?
Yep.
Oh, how does it track stars when they are out of view, Chaiki?
The motor is running.
So is it tracking them? Is it
It
tracking
doesn't
them,
need
or
to
is it
see
just
them to
moving?
the
It's not
the
tracking
mount
them.
does not
That's the
see the
point.
stars.
It's not right. It's not
pre-programmed.
tracking
The mount
stars.
does not see
Exactly.
the
It's pre.
stars.
Okay. See, we have a psychopath that's spiraling. It's
The mount does
pre-programmed.
not see
There
the
is no
stars.
tracking. There's no magical laser device that's making it track things. You're making it do it. It's designed to move that way. Do you understand that, Chaiki?
Yeah, I do. And what I'm asking is how can we have 60 degrees between two stars for the whole fucking night?
Yeah,
If they
how do we
are
have straight
moving
lines?
away
Yeah.
or closer to each other.
I know. How do we have straight lines on
Yeah,
a flat
do
Earth?
you
That's a
understand
hard
what I'm
question.
asking
I don't
to
know.
you?
How do you?
Do
Yeah,
you
that's what it is.
understand
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah,
asking?
hiding from the shape of the Earth. Yes, you're presupposing
I'm
something
not.
different from what we
I'm
can
not.
prove by
You
looking
do.
at the stars and then making assumptions that don't have anything to do with reality, Chaiki. You're
He
scared to
can't
death of
answer.
reality.
He can't answer.
If you pick one from the north and one from
Oh
the
boy,
south,
can
that
answer.
don't
60 degrees,
happen.
straight lines. Well, that's amazing.
When you say 60 degrees, how are you getting the 60 degrees?
Doesn't matter. You measure
He's
it.
talking about stars in the same hemisphere.
Doesn't matter. You heard it right there. Doesn't matter. There you go, Brandon.
Doesn't
There's an
matter.
answer.
Two
Doesn't matter.
stars. And
Yep,
it doesn't
nothing
matter
matters. It's
what
just
is the
bullshit.
degree
These people are
between
just
them.
liars.
Hey,
One
hold
of
on.
them is at the north. One of them
Chaiki,
is at the south.
Chaiki, show us two mounts. Show us these mounts tracking two stars. Show us this observation so we can take a look at what you think is the contradiction.
There's
No, I
no
want you
claim.
to
He won't
show
show you
us
anything.
what you're talking about. You say you think you found this contradiction. Show us.
What did Brian get the same question when he showed a contradiction?
See, now you're just obfuscating.
No, he
Right,
didn't.
right.
Now let me
Never-
say this though. So Howard, can you show me what your mount sees at noon? What star it's tracking? Can you show me a picture of that?
No, I can't show anything. I'm driving.
There's a big problem with that, Brandon. Brandon, when and like I said, in the summertime, talking about
Yeah, there is a
stars,
big problem with
they're
that. His
only
mount would
out
be
for,
pointed at the ground, Brian.
about an hour.
That's the problem.
They're only out for about 7 or 8 hours, yet they're still spinning. They're still doing half circle, right, Brandon? So they got problems
I know,
they
but
won't acknowledge.
it's just how it's designed. How else are you going to fucking design this thing except to rotate on a head? Just because after the star hits the horizon and you can't see it anymore, you keep spinning the mount, doesn't mean the fucking star is under the earth that the mount is pointing at. That's not proof of anything. How the fuck can you guys still be bringing that up as some kind of fucking proof?
I didn't bring that
Yes,
up.
a
You
man-made
brought
device
it
that
up.
points down. Yep.
Because their model dictates that it has to.
No,
I
it's not. It's because when it's tracking a star that it can see, or the sun, or whatever it is that it can see that's visibly in the sky, it does half of the arc. When it can't see it anymore, I don't think it's an unsafe assumption to say it's doing the rest of that arc.
So,
The mount is doing the arc. It is not tracking the star anymore.
It's tracking the star when the star's
No, there is
No.
no tracking. There is no tracking stars. Your eyes can track stars. The machine does not.
How do you know that it's not programmed to rotate at 15 degrees an hour?
is.
So no matter what star you put it on.
Duh, there it is. There's a
follows-
concession.
That's
not
exactly what
everything
it does.
rotates 15 degrees per hour is the problem. You put it on the moon. You put it on the moon. It's not going to do that.
Put it on the moon.
Bro,
Wow,
go
you
to
left reality.
suncount.org.
like the
You
stars
guys are
are
talking all over each other.
Yeah, go put one on the moon, Kosho.
Sorry.
It seems
Go
that
put
the
one on the
stars
moon.
do rotate.
Hey! Everybody is talking over each other. Let's just. slow
James,
down.
you're kind of on the right track. When you have this particular rate from sunrise to sunset for a star or the sun, it's almost like this same rate applies even when it's pointing at the ground, and then it's going to pick it up at sunrise. It's almost like this particular fixed rate is occurring. You're
It's
right,
called
James.
it's called a stellar
but-
day. 23 hours and 56 minutes is a stellar day. It's the time it takes the stars to make a rotation. So that that doesn't indicate that stars are going below you. It just means that that's the rate at which the stars make a full rotation.
They
I
on
was
their
going to post
circuit,
this real quick as well. This is a
Oh.
planisphere. This shows essentially the section of the sky that you can see. And I just want to point out that this is, a flat little thing. And what you do is you can rotate the disk of stars on the inside of that. So I just want to mention that it just shows the section of the sky you can see, and you rotate that on a flat disk, as it were, to see which stars you can see in your region.
All I was going to say is it seems like the stars do rotate at 15 degrees per hour, but it's not the Earth. It's not the Earth.
Yeah.
We were not talking of what is rotating. The claim was here that star trails diverge, and I asked a simple question. So how does equatorial mount can track stars at the north and the south if they diverge and keep the same angle between them?
Let's
he
see
doesn't.
the observation, and then we'll go from there.
You don't set an equatorial mount to multiple stars, Jackie. That's not
No,
how
it doesn't
How
matter.
is it
But
tracking-
if you track one and
Okay.
you track one with another amount, doesn't matter. There is an angle between them that doesn't change through all
How
the
is
time
it
of
tracking stars
observation.
that it's not able to see, Chike? And how does it know that the stars are in that spot?
You don't understand the
There's
question I'm
predictive
asking.
power. That's
I
why.
asked a simple question.
Oh, okay. All right.
If
You don't
you tracked an
understand.
airplane,
It's already
if you
back
tracked
here.
an airplane with an equatorial mount, it would make the exact same motion.
Well, the purpose of the
Can't track
equatorial
an
mount,
airplane.
Oh, it
the
wouldn't.
purpose of the equatorial mount is to get a certain shot of the sky as the sky is moving, so you can stay on it, so you can see that for a longer period of time. So you just have to track it with whatever speed it's moving. So if you're tracking it to one of the quote unquote fixed stars, that would be what a stellar day, which is 23 hours and 56 minutes. So all that equatorial mount has to do in that case is to track that particular trail of that star, and it has to go at the rate of 23 hours and 56 minutes to make its full rotation. As long as you do that, you can stay zoomed into that particular star or celestial object and track it.
So if you
seems like
track
it would-
two
What's
stars,
that called
one at
again,
the
bro?
north, and one at the south, according to the star trails, they should diverge. The angle between them cannot be the same.
Yeah, they would diverge. That's why you couldn't set it one
So
equatorial mount on two stars. You can't.
Yeah, they
that.
do. They divert.
You
That's the
can't
point.
track
That's the
stars
last
with
hour and a half
equatorial
we've been
mount.
showing you that they divert. Yep, that's the whole point.
You can track a star or a section of the sky, but if you're gonna try to track that wide of a range, I mean, you can't. You'd have to have two equatorial mounts at that point, and yet
Right. Then the angle between them will not change.
It's not
Yes,
going to
it
work.
does. That's what the reality shows us. It does change. They diverge and converge. That's why you're scared to death of the time lapse.
Then
you're telling us the
So
angle
does
would
it track? Hold on, guys. Does it track the
James, four
seven
people
wandering
started talking.
stars? Does it track the seven wandering stars?
You have to program it.
So
Why don't you
it
just
doesn't.
Why don't you
If you
just
have an EQ mount,
get your stars, put them on the room, put them in your room, and get your ball and put the camera on the bottom and the top and the side, and then see what you see with the star rotation from the ball spinning.
yeah, good point. If we have two EQ mounts and we track two stars from Travis's observation, one that were appearing to go convex, another one concave, the angle would change.
So how can it be?
Would the angle
Donald Trump-
change?
Correct. Yes,
Listen,
it would.
listen,
Yes,
the
that's why you
Donald-
want to acknowledge it.
It
Yes, you want to
actually
acknowledge
would.
it.
The equatorial
They're
mount
scared to
does
death.
one
They're just
motion.
hand waving dismissal. We have, I mean, Brandon, you showed them these pictures,
angle-
and they
the
say
angle
that's not
wouldn't-
I
real.
don't care about the picture. The
Yeah,
equatorial
yeah,
mount.
exactly. They don't care about
I'm
evidence.
asking you-
Exactly. You're talking. Oh my
It's-
gosh, I cannot believe this guy. How stupid he is.
So I just
Okay,
asked him
I'm
if it
stupid.
tracks the 7 wonder
Doesn't
stars.
matter.
and they
He don't
said you
care.
have to
He
put
don't
no.
care what pictures. You don't care about the
No.
pictures in reality.
You
Yeah,
have
forget
to-
that.
Striking, are
Let's
you
go back to the cartoon.
Are you trying to say that visually the stars diverge, and which we can pick up on cameras, cameras and all of that, but if you put two equatorial mounts, they wouldn't? Is that what you're trying to say?
If
That's
they
what I'm
would,
saying
the mount wouldn't be able to track them, right?
Well-
Because they will move in the mount's view, both of them, or one of them at least. Because it can't be only made for one of them. It can be made for both.
Bullshit. That's why
Doesn't know
I can
what
see
you're
them
looking
right
at.
now making a video. What these clowns are going to do, they're going to make a video and they're going to show stars in the northern hemisphere not deviating, or they're going to show stars in the southern hemisphere not deviating to try and prove us wrong. Chikey, the stars from the north and the south fucking deviate. You could call it whatever you want,
The
but
mount,
it's in every equatorial time lapse, bro.
The
They
mount.
deviate. And
Wait
if you
till
want to try
now.
and call it perspective, I'd say the
the
equatorial
mount,
mount, bro. It
The
rotates
mount.
on 2 axes, bro. Why does it rotate on 2 axes, Chikey? Why would it
Listen.
need 2 axes,
He'll
bro?
deny it. He'll
why
deny
it
it.
needs. Why it needs? Because you want
See?
to see all the
They-
stars, right?
No,
You
because
can't
you
see all
also
the
need
stars on one
to-
axis.
You need
Because
a
that's how you
round-
define spherical
So what's the next?
sphere-
Can we just
spherical
move on?
coordinates.
Okay, let's move on. Let's see. Okay, what does it take to make a deal?
That's
So
how
if we
you
show
define
that-
spherical
okay.
coordinates, man.
Right.
Hello.
Okay. So let's
Hello,
move to
can I
make
get
the
3
deal,
seconds?
Brandon. So if we show him that they diverge and converge with 2 different positions, if we show you that, Chikey, what's your next excuse going to be?
I'm asking you.
What instrument are you
how
going to
would
do
You
it with?
can't do it. He
equatorial
won't answer.
mount
That's the point. He's
Chikey.
completely ignoring the present.
to track
Chikey,
stars?
then
Yeah.
so Chikey, maybe that's a question that you should answer. How do these
Well,
two
I know
mounts?
the answer.
If I use
I
two
know the
mounts,
answer.
how do they track these stars that diverge and converge? Then what's the answer? Is it have to
The
do with the
question-
angle relationship
I can
when you
help
set them out?
No.
Then what does it have to do with Chikey?
Your question was wrong to ask. They don't diverge.
See,
That's
See,
the
you
answer.
just
You're an
keep
idiot,
denying it.
Chikey.
You just keep saying they don't do it. They just don't do it. They
There's
don't do
3
it.
main vectors that an equatorial mount works. One of them is the equatorial axis, which is often referred to as right ascension. The other one is the perpendicular axis of motion, which is the declination. You have those 2. The third one is the actual clock drive, which is the 23 hours and 56 minutes, so that it syncs up with that. If you're talking about a fixed star, it syncs up with that. So you have to. That's how you have to track the coordinates. There's those 3 main vectors that have to be
What you need to do. You need to represent the 2. You need to represent the globe version, like I said, with the camera on top and bottom, and have what.
You know what's fascinating? If you were to take 2, 3, 10, however many telescopes with equatorial mounts and fix them on 10 different stars, you'd have created an invisible axis that they all would have in common. They would all be rotating. They would all be rotating around in invisible axes, the same invisible axes.
Hold on. Is there a response to what Geo? Hey guys, is there a response to what Geo said? Geo said the smartest thing I've heard this whole time.
What did he say?
Nobody heard it.
I didn't hear it.
I heard Gio talking the whole time. What specifically are you talking about?
Kosho, if you tie a string between the
Brian.
2 telescopes, the
Brian.
lens part.
Too loud,
Brian,
Brian.
what's wrong with you, Brian?
Yo, you said
Jeremy,
they rotate on
repeat
one
what he
axis.
said.
You said
Right.
they
No,
rotate
I
on
said-
one axis.
We all said that. If you're on a globe, that's how it would work.
Did Geo just explain to us how it rotates on multiple axes? Plus, if it's only
No.
rotating on
Yeah.
one axis, how does it track the conversion?
Listen to my words, Jeremy. Not the words you think I'm saying. All of them are going to be rotating on their 2 axes. What I'm saying to you is they're all 10 of them or 15 or 1,000.
You have
Regardless
to
of the
set
axis
the
that they're
second
rotating on,
axis
they're
to
gonna be rotating-
rotate
they're gonna be
with
rotating-
the other star.
Yeah, they're going to be rotating around the same.
You have to
invisible
change the
axis.
other axes
Jesus Christ.
to track the other star. Do you understand now?
They can't. They
Yeah,
won't.
That changes the angle relationship.
Why don't you challenge yourself and try to pay attention, man? Because
Why don't you fucking think for yourself?
Yeah,
I heard Brian and
I
he
know
had a
you are,
great
but what am
idea.
I? Great
He had
answer,
a great
Coach.
idea.
This is what,
So
yeah.
Brian,
See, check
Brian,
the same
wait,
idea, 'cause
Brian,
y'all shut
I
me
heard
up.
you.
Take a string. Hold on, Jackie. Take a
I
string
heard
and
you.
tie it from
Yes. Yes. Tie a
Nobody
string
else heard me.
between two telescopes that are fixed on the star. The whole night, the string will stay.
No, it won't. Not if you
try
pick a star,
try
one
it.
in the north and one in the south, Jackie. If you pick
Try
one
it.
in the north and
He
one in the
doesn't
south.
care, Brian. He's not interested in reality. Remember, he said he doesn't care.
No,
Dude, that's
Brian's the
fucking
one that don't
bugging,
look
dude.
at. Brian's would try it.
Well, we're talking about
He doesn't
tracking.
care.
Essentially, we're talking about tracking celestial coordinates, and within the celestial coordinate system, there's multiple factors that have to be considered because of what we're talking about, the way that the star trails are, diverging, converging, and so on. So you can't just set it in one straight line, for example. So you have to have the actual clock drive, the 23 hours and 56 minutes. Then the other two main components would be the right ascension and the declination, which are also referred to as the equatorial axis and the perpendicular axis of motion. So once you have to lock all three of those in order to track one particular star. And each particular star is going to have its own coordinate, which is part of the actual equatorial coordinate system.
All right, and that's my point, though, is that the path that each of these objects makes, they're all going to create in and of themselves throughout that path. They're going to create a perpendicular axes, each of them separately.
They're
on
not
their own
perpendicular.
axes.
They're not-
and all
they're not-
10
you're
and all
not-
10 of those
lying again.
perpendicular
They're not
axes are all going to be
perpendicular.
parallel to
You're
one
just
another.
lying.
It'll be the
They're
same
not
axes.
parallel. They're not parallel.
It will
He's lying
be.
again.
Yeah.
They're not parallel.
It actually is. Yeah.
We showed
No,
them
they're
not
not.
being
Exactly.
parallel.
There it is.
We showed them not parallel.
Well, what's not parallel, Jeremy?
What happened to Bell distortion?
We've only shown the
The
photos.
perpendicular axes. Well, something that nobody's brought up yet, Jeremy. What are you talking about? You've said that they're not parallel. No one's brought this up till now.
We've
They're
all
not
brought it
parallel.
up, you
I've been-
fool.
For 2 hours. now.
Nobody
2 hours.
brought up the
2 hours.
perpendicular axes.
2
Dude. What are
hours.
you talking about?
2 hours ago. Brandon,
we
2 hours
say
ago, I
two
gave him the
axes.
photo. Yep.
No one's talking about those two axes, dude.
See,
What
they're
Gio's
scared
talking about
to
those
death.
two
This
axes.
point-
Those two
this
axes
point-
create
listen,
the path
guys,
of an object.
This point destroys them so bad they can't even acknowledge it. That's
You don't
why
even know
this
what
is
that
such
means.
a
You don't even know
killer
what I'm
for
saying
them.
when I say perpendicular
He's
axis.
scared
That's
to
so funny,
death.
dude.
He's absolutely scared to death, guys.
All right, all right, all
You
right.
need to-
So,
can't
do you see
address-
my screen? Do you see this?
The
This
X
mount
and the
here?
Y, fool.
Hold up, Brian. Fuck me, man. Do you see this mount here, Kosho? On my
Yes.
screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So you see this right here, this round head right here?
Yeah.
That's the axis. You put the telescope on there, and then you rotate it from side to side, and it moves in a circular motion on this axis to track the star. Correct? Are we on the same
These
page?
two,
still?
these two axes.
Are we on the same page still?
No, the
Well,
other
both
one.
those two axes move to locate it, but yeah.
No, we're talking about the one fucking axis right now.
Well, then no.
This spins around to track the star across the sky, correct?
Well, yeah, as
Not
long as
just
the other
one.
one spins with it, yeah. It doesn't just spin by itself, but yeah.
Not necessarily.
No, this weight moves up and down, back and forth, and the mount moves around in a circle. Now, this
No.
axis right here, this
If it's on the
axis
same
right here,
equatorial plane, it will.
this axis right here is adjusted to move to a different star.
No,
See that?
that's what
Yes.
tracks the
That's completely
star.
wrong, man. They move
That's-
together. Yeah.
No, no.
That axis, it's what tracking. That only.
You tilt this
No.
up and down, right?
No.
And that
you
gives you your
aim it-
declination,
no,
right?
That's what you polar align. That's
Yeah,
the
hold on.
axis that tracks.
Yeah, where you're putting your mouse, yeah, that's the declination where you were first. Yeah, that's the declination,
That's
which
right,
is
essentially.
This right here.
perpendicular.
Okay. So if I adjust these in relation to each other, then it's not going to create a series of parallel lines.
Yeah, nobody said that, man. That's what I'm saying. I said challenge yourself to listen to what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you have this track a single star, moving together to track a single star or whatever you're tracking, and it'll have the entire object, the entire telescope is going to, in essence, point, make the front of the telescope is going to make a circular path. Okay, and that circle has a perpendicular axis. That circle, there's one that's not, it doesn't exist on this telescope. It's a circle made by the path of the eye of the telescope. That perpendicular axis. If you were to set up 10 of these at 10 different objects in the sky, go in all different directions, all of their perpendicular axes would all be parallel to one another. It'd be the same axes.
Yeah.
Then you'd bring up this picture and you show me. Show us. Show us how you'd adjust it in the same spot for different stars. If I wanted to move it from one star to the next, I put it in general. Will you do that? Share your screen and show us.
Why would I do that? That's not even what I didn't just explain that at all. I just explained the circle that's made by the path.
That's what I'm asking you to explain. I'm asking you to explain if I had this mount in place and I was tracking one star and then I wanted to track a different star the next night, what would I do?
You'd have to set it up to point at that star. That star's going to make a complete circle.
How would I do that on the mount? That's what I'm asking you to show me.
You would point that middle one, the thing in the middle, at the
this.
With the direction that it's pointed.
Oh, so I would adjust this.
You'd point that at that star's what do you call it? Like it's pole or whatever.
Really? Do you think that is going to make, if I turn this in a circle to track the one star one night, and I turn it the next night in a circle, that those two circles are going to be parallel? Is that what you think?
No, that's not what I said at all. That's not at all what I said, dude.
Well, then why don't you bring up the fucking picture and show us?
The eye of the telescope, something that's not located on this thing. The eye of the telescope, the thing the telescope is pointed at. It's when it tracks its star, the sun or the moon or anything, whether it's actually tracking it or it's just programmed in the first place, throughout the night, it's going to make an entire circle tracking it around. It's going to make some circle. I'm saying all of those circles, they all have perpendicular axes. It doesn't exist. It's a perpendicular axis to the circle of those telescopes, and they're all going to be parallel to one another.
No, they're not. That's why I asked you to bring up the mount and show us, because you're making a claim that I don't recognize, and I could be wrong.
What does identifying things on the mount have to do with that? I'm talking about the eye of the telescope.
I want you to show me physically, because you're making a claim about how the physical operation of this mount and the geometry of this mount proves the shape of the Earth, because you can track stars in a certain way, and you can't even bring up the picture and show me how I would change it from one star to the next.
It has nothing to do with how this works, man. It has to do with where the telescope's pointing at.
Claiming that those circles are all parallel.
You agree that the eye of the telescope, the thing that's on the front of the telescope, that when it's tracking any of these objects, that in 24 hours, it's going to have made a circular path.
Yes.
You agree? Okay, then identifying anything on this is irrelevant.
To get him to
No, it's not. Kosho, it's not. Hold on.
All I'm telling you is that all those circles.
I agree with you that it makes a circle to track the star, Kosho.
Yeah, and that's all I'm saying.
The next night, I want to track a different star at a different latitude. I adjust this right here, correct?
Both.
Again, it's irrelevant to the point I'm making.
That circle that it makes the next night to track that star is not going to be parallel to the circle from the night before.
I didn't say the circle, dude, for the last, dude. Listen to what I'm saying. And
listen to what I'm saying. I'm not arguing with something you're saying. I'm trying to tell you something.
Each of those circles
have a
perpendicular axes. It's that axes that I'm saying are parallel.
What the fuck do I care if anything is parallel besides those stars when we're talking about divergence?
Do you see how?
What do I care other than if those circles are parallel? Huh?
He's not trying to understand what you're saying. He's trying to correct.
I want to be trying to understand what you're saying when I'm the one saying something.
Wait, I didn't mean to confuse him with an equatorial mount. Let's just use two regular telescopes and track the stars off in the distance. In Travis's picture, we would have to deviate them away from each other as they go further out in the distance.
And that,
forget the equatorial mount.
That was exactly
what would happen on the ball.
I was answering your question. I was answering your exact question about those telescopes. It doesn't have to be equatorial mount. It could be any telescope pointing at any stars.
So,
can you recite? And you take that circle, you take the perpendicular axes. All those axes will be parallel to one another.
Can you recite what Brandon?
You don't have an equatorial mount, okay?
Can you recite, Kosho? Can you recite Brandon's argument, please?
Why? Well, Brendan's argument, but it had nothing to do with what I was saying. I was in the middle of saying something.
Yeah.
He's asking
That
how
was
he's asking me to point out how
He's
the
trying
equatorial
to
mount
get you
works.
to understand his point of view, and you're not paying
He's
attention.
not making a point.
Hey, let me say something, and it might help clear things up. Each and every one of those EQ mounts are going to have an axis of rotation that is parallel to Earth's axis of rotation.
Oh my God.
Therefore, all the EQ mounts
Nope.
are going to have
Dead
a
wrong.
line.
No.
Yeah, all of their axis of rotation will be parallel.
No,
Keep
come on,
denying it.
Howard.
Yep.
Shut the fuck up, dude. What did you say that for? It's like you opened a fucking heliocentric popsicle and that's what it said on the stick.
But that's what it does.
They just defeated their whole argument. They literally just admitted that they don't have a claim.
All these debates, dude, I can't even fucking finish. I can't even finish my point, man. It's insane.
Brian,
All
go
these
ahead.
motherfuckers
Finish
talk-
your point.
I'm sorry, Brian, go ahead.
It's your mic. It's partly your mic,
Okay,
Brian. You sound like you're down a hallway or something.
And your robot.
Yeah, it sounds like you're in the gas station bathroom, Brian.
One last thing, Kosho. I want Kosho to respond to this. Kosho, if I'm looking at, if I'm right next to Travis while he's filming them stars go off in the distance and deviate, and I have two telescopes without an equatorial mount, and I have to spread them away from each other to stay locked on to the stars, one of them in the north, one of them in the south. Explain that on a globe, please.
That's exactly my point, man. You take those two people with those two telescopes and the two passes they just made, seemingly unrelated paths, right? And then you find the axes that is perpendicular to the circle of those paths, okay? And you realize that it's actually the same axis. That's my point, man.
Not with an equatorial mount.
I didn't say with an equatorial
Brian,
mount.
okay,
I didn't say
for the
an
record,
equatorial mount.
Brian, he said the answer is they do work on my cartoon.
No,
That was
the answer is
congratulations.
you don't have enough intelligence to understand, dude. So just there's no.
Yeah, they work.
Just
say they work. Everything works on both.
But no, Brian, I'm not telling you anything about an equatorial mount. I'm saying on any telescope or anything pointed at it. A pen, you can point a pen at it, okay? And the path that you're making, the circle that makes throughout 24 hours, you can take the perpendicular axes of that circle. That means if you had a CD and you put a pen through it, the pen would be the perpendicular axes of the circle of the CD. You would take to any two of those paths or any 10 of those paths or all the paths, all of those axes will be parallel and actually the same.
No shit. That's not an answer.
They're not
That's
parallel.
not an answer, bro.
We
That's
have
what I was
all these
trying to tell
photos
him.
of the skies. I mean, we have these pictures that are time-lapse photography showing that they're not parallel. So it's just
CGI.
And on one axis they are parallel. That is not the argument. The argument is they are deviating on the other axis. Kosher, quit talking about the perpendicular fucking axis. That is not our argument, bro. Our argument is on the fucking y-axis they are deviating. We see
No,
it.
they
We
don't.
measure it.
No, I want you to measure it.
Brian, they just keep lying. He just keeps lying.
Go measure it.
Chucky's
Take
insane.
two
He
telescopes.
just says they don't.
Take
Then he
two
says it's
stars.
CGI. Brian, his claim now
No.
is that it's CGI, Brian.
But I'm asking you, how do
Guy's a crackhead. That's
equatorial
what we see, and
mounts
everybody
work?
admits
How
they see
can they
them.
work? How can they
Yes,
possibly
it
work?
doesn't work.
if
Yeah,
what
the ball.
you say
How does
is
your ball move in
true?
two different directions? at the
It
same
doesn't
time?
work on a
Chucky,
globe.
how-
You're right, Chikey.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I think you're right, Chikey.
So
It doesn't work on a globe.
It works perfectly on the globe.
They sell
I don't
things
think
to
it
people
does.
that cost
They're
thousands
crackheads.
of dollars.
You guys are
They
convincing
don't
me it
work.
doesn't.
Well,
People pay
you-
thousands of dollars for things that don't
Yeah, their
work.
answer is
I
it doesn't
get it.
even happen now, Brand. It just doesn't
That's
happen.
the
You
biggest
gotta deny
hoax
everything, yeah.
on Earth.
if you view my screen, I'm showing you exactly what Brian's thinks is some issue. It's just two objects parallel to each other, parallel in the same axes, and it says on the same circles, going around in a circle, appearing to be deviating as they go around the circle, but not actually deviating. This is just because of the way you're
Okay,
viewing
me
it.
moving.
Yeah.
And if it's Kosho, if it's me moving and not the stars, okay? Once again, me moving, not the stars. There's no fucking reason they should separate away from each other if it's me fucking moving, you jackass.
Yeah, watch me do the same thing in 20 seconds. The same thing with the thing in the center moving and those things staying still. And we'll see who's the jackass.
So just say perspective then.
You still
And let's move on to the fucking argument.
you still there, Brandon?
Yeah, of course.
Cube says an equatorial mount will work in a planetarium, and he's an amateur astronomer.
Well,
Yeah,
was you
yeah,
trying to say
yeah.
that the tool is what's making
You
it
remember
parallel?
what he told you,
You
right?
don't like that there, Chucky? He even
No, no,
told
you
you why.
remember what he answered you to my rebuttal, right?
Wait,
Yeah,
hold
he
on.
said
Say that
you were
again,
wrong.
Scalpel. Hold on. Say that again.
Kaiser Cube says that an equatorial mount will work inside of a planetarium. Kaiser
Take one
Cube's
to
guy,
planetarium and see if it works.
he's an amateur astronomer over
I
from
don't care
Gemini.
what he
He's a
is.
globehead.
What's wrong?
He says it'll work in
He
a
doesn't care.
planetarium.
No, it
That's not the
wouldn't.
first.
That's
Peggy
interesting.
doesn't
He
care about
admitted
anything.
it wouldn't.
Well, they
Oh,
actually
so-
use that. Yeah, they actually use planetarium. Like, there's technology where they can zoom into certain parts of the sky, and that uses the same technology as an equatorial mount, meaning it uses the 3 axes. So
yeah,
same
it doesn't care what's underneath it. It's tracking the stars. It's not a good argument for either side, in my opinion.
I don't think so either, because if you're even if the Earth's flat, and
I'm moving.
well, I get your point.
I'm moving, and the stars are separating.
That is true, but I'm just taking what you've said and saying, yeah, that's what's happening. I ain't done no research, so I agree with what you're saying if that's true, Brian.
Like, Kaiser has no reason to lie. He's a global.
But isn't the
and he's
EQ
an
mount
amateur.
isn't the EQ mount like a set of human eyes? Whereas if you was a human, you would be turning in a circle as you watch the stars, or stayed on one star, go around you.
Yeah, if you locked your eyes on one star and you moved your head throughout the night, you would be moving your head in these axes we're talking about. Yeah, you'd have to move your head multiple axes to track.
The circle, so the tool is giving you the circle.
Yes.
It's not proving the shape of the Earth.
No,
that doesn't prove.
The tool is verifying. The tool
It's
is
built to
verifying.
do whatever, to follow whatever the sky's doing. That's all, James. It's just this argument from them is just one of their red herring fucking bullshit arguments.
But I want to get your
Well,
point, Brandon.
it's still
Was you saying that it was the tool that's causing the parallel? It's the tool.
still works.
I don't know what Kosho was trying to say. I don't understand. Here's what I was trying to say. Do you see?
James, they're not parallel.
Hold on. I got a video up. Can you guys see this? So this guy's moving it around. You can see how he's moving around. He's got the telescope on it, right? See this arm right here? It swings around. He's going to show us. There we go. He's going to swing it around. Aim it at the star. It swings around. Now those circles that it makes are not parallel when you adjust this mount. They're not.
I bet you $1,000 they are. I bet you $1,000 every single last
You'll
one.
never pay.
The only thing that's parallel, Kosho, is the declination axis. That axis is parallel simply because it's declination, meaning it's higher in the sky or lower in the sky, and those will all be parallel. Is that what you're talking about?
I'd take that bet too.
Go ahead and take the bet then.
No, I mean I'm on your side, Kosho.
Oh, okay.
I bet they're all parallel too.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll never pay.
Of course they do. The rotation is not caused by the instrument. It's caused by the object that's rotating, which is the Earth. The axis.
No, the Earth is not rotating. The Earth can't spin at
the
same time. The stars converge and diverge from the same point on Earth visually, so we can't be moving at all. Sorry.
Yeah, just
Well,
throw it
I
out
bet you
there.
$10,000.
By the Earth that is rotating.
All you gotta do is black swan me. Find me one.
So
find me
what
one
is
that's not
here?
parallel.
I could say
Hold
something,
on, guys.
but I
Hold
don't
on.
want to get booted off the panel.
Kosho. I want you to tell me exactly what it is you think is parallel. I want you to fucking describe it. And I'll tell you if I'll take your bet or not.
Brendan.
All the Star Trails?
What? Why don't you bring up a picture on your computer and show me?
Time I corrected you and said.
Yep, he's already running through his life. Yep.
The fucking path of the telescope having to view the object. So it doesn't matter if you're pointing a pen at the object. It doesn't matter if you fucking have a telescope point at the object. The path of the front of that thing makes a circle. Okay, the perpendicular axes of that circle. They're all parallel because they're all the same axes.
When you adjust the other axes, they're not parallel anymore.
What are you talking about? What's
Kosho, we are talking
not parallel?
That's what I'm talking about.
Southern hemisphere.
What's not parallel?
Kosho, we're talking about a star in the northern compared to a star in the southern.
Any two stars, man. Any two stars.
No, that's not what we're talking
Any
about.
two stars, guy. It doesn't matter if there's one in the north.
Are you talking about the actual? Are you talking about the actual trails themselves are not parallel? Like, I'm confused.
No.
I'm talking
so
about
if you take any telescope or take a pen. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Brian, hold on. You go ahead and describe what you think is parallel, Kosho.
Take a pen, okay, and point it at any star you like, okay. So let's call it, let's say Aldebaran, okay. Point at any
Just get
star
to
you
the
like,
point.
and then point it at it for fucking 12 hours, okay, and make the half arc, and then imagine it's a fucking equatorial mountain. It's going to do the rest of the arc, so it's going to do the other half of that arc, which is a circle, obviously. So that circle you've just made with that pen, okay, it's going to have a perpendicular axis, meaning an axis running through that circle, okay? That axis that is perpendicular to that circle is going to be the same axis that's perpendicular to any circle that you do this to. They're all going to be all those axes are going to be parallel to one another.
You see when he tilts the telescope? Do you see? Hold on. Let me explain myself. Don't. Hold on. Do you see, Brian? Hold on. Do you see him how he's tilting this telescope? He's adjusting it to point at different stars, right?
Yeah, that's a flip.
These are different stars at different latitudes. Now,
Yeah,
imagine
when you
there's a
track
beam of
those
light. Listen to me, fucking listen. Imagine there's a beam of
I'm gonna
fucking
say
light, a laser coming out the end of this telescope, and you spin that around, and that beam of light makes a circle. As soon as you change that latitude and point to a different star and spin that fucking mount around again, it's going to make a circle that is not parallel to the first one.
Well, Brandon, I assumed you were smarter than this, man, because you've asked me 15 times to repeat it, and you've got it wrong every time. What I fucking said.
I don't want to say
I did
it.
not say the circles are fucking parallel.
Okay, can I? Oh yeah,
the circles are not
That's
parallel.
what I'm talking about, you asshole.
I said the axes of that
That's
circle.
that's what's applicable to this Star Trail
I don't
discussion,
think,
you fuck
Brandon, I don't want to say it, but I think you know what I'm about to say.
No, shut up. You say nothing.
B-ball, just fucking.
Okay, do you know which axis they lie?
You're not about to say anything, B-ball. So it sounds like, Kosho, we were talking about two different things.
Where's the
And
center?
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, because what you're talking about doesn't matter to the discussion of Star Trails.
What are you, it's what are you talking about, dude? I'm showing you that they're all related. They're all going along the same axis. Doesn't matter if they're north or south, clockwise, counterclockwise. They're all going around the same axis.
In it. These government kids are always trying to put their religion in there.
Oh, it's
The
ridiculous.
perpendicular axis has to be parallel. He's not making an argument. The perpendicular axis has to be parallel. Fucking retard. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the
Why does that have to be? Why does that have to be parallel? In your model, why does that have to be
Hold
parallel?
on, can I ask the question?
Why don't you address Brandon's point? Address the point that we're supposed to be the one moving, but the stars are separating. Listen, stars separating.
Look at my fucking screen. For the love of God, I've just fucking showed you. That has nothing. That's not even a fucking argument. It's a fucking stupid thing to say.
Perspective.
Okay.
Perspective.
Yeah.
Right?
When you have things going in a circle.
Wait, Brian,
There's
let's
the same
see what he's
distance
got. He's
apart.
got something
They're
up on his
they're
screen
along
now.
the same axes.
Well, show us what this is. Describe what we're looking at here, because this.
Look, you got two monkey heads. Okay.
Huh?
On a flat circle.
Obviously,
Yeah, two monkey
same distance
heads.
apart
Okay.
from one another. Same
Uh-huh.
axis. So circles along the same axes. Okay.
What?
The circles are they're going to
Where's
spin
the
around the
EQ
same
mount?
axis.
Where's the EQ mount?
On a globe.
Here's a camera right here. I'm going to
To
move it back.
answer his question, that's why the perpendiculars are parallel because of that flat circle. That was it.
Where is the
Put 'em
EQ
on the
mount
globe.
in this little
I'm
model?
moving it right now. Hold on. Right here.
Can you
This is the
throw us a
camera.
treat?
This is the camera viewing the sky moving. Okay. Hold on 1 second.
What are the circles?
These circles are just. This is just showing what two circles would do. So you guys are having a hard time looking at the star trails, not knowing that those are just those star trails are just circles.
All right, thanks, Kosho.
wouldn't
I
they be
appreciate you
standing
trying
on
to do that. But
stairs?
when you said that we were having a hard time trying to understand, then you started bullshitting, and I don't really need to hear the rest. But thanks for stopping by. Anyway, what's going on, Elijah? I saw you popped in, buddy. What's going on, man?
Yeah, man. Ever since I've been reading through these docs where the CIA is, basically told to go out and contact their media arms to basically give these fallacious arguments to basically inundate the public with propaganda so that they wouldn't listen to the few people who are trying to wake people up. And this is a recurring theme from World War I up until now, even with currently what's going on. And I just can't help but, characterize some of these people on the flat earth side. I'm not the flat earth side. Some of these people who are anti-flat earthers and people who argue against, flat earth. I mean, they're just like CIA kids, I think.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Oh,
I mean, what else are they?
I smell spooks big time, Elijah. I mean, it's just like you can just hear it in their voice, in my opinion.
I asked this dude because he's been talking to a whole bunch of flat earthers, and he said, "Oh, you're the most knowledgeable one yet," which is really sad, actually, because you should be exposed to much more than anything that I could say if you've been wasting all of this time arguing against flat earth. So I asked him. I said, "Okay, the only thing I want to know is yeah, real quick, just soon as I." So I asked him this question. I said, "You know what? This is the only thing I want to know. You've been arguing or speaking to flat earthers for a good while. Why don't you tell me why flat earthers think that the earth isn't a sphere and why? And what is your rebuttal to it?" And he began to talk about how it can't possibly be flat. The end. These people are brainwashed or they're CIA kids. I don't know what else to say.
Can I add to that, Elijah? A lot of these same people that say it can't be flat are also the same ones who say there is no God.
I don't necessarily think that they're CIA assets. I think that most likely they've been compromised. They've been caught doing something bad, and the CIA had to flip them, or they're probably going to go to jail.
It's possible. That's how I would recruit people, but it's also possible that they enlisted and they got themselves into, hold on, Brian. They got themselves into psychological operations unit, or they thought they were going to be fucking James Bond. And here they end up spending their career talking to fucking flat earthers online, thinking they know everything about the globe. They could just not fucking know.
Could be all dead, or you all just delusional.
Or they could work for YouTube. They could work for some corporation who has an interest in it.
I was going to say, Rumpus is actually working for YouTube at the moment. I've seen him on an advert on a lady's lap. I don't know if anyone else has seen it.
No, I haven't seen that. Do you have a link?
Hi, this is me and Rumpus. No, it's an advert on people's videos. So you just keep an eye out for it. It's a woman says, "Hi, this is me and Rumpus."
Yeah, they said it.
All right, I'll check out for that.
Wow. So the Rumpus is going to be a
They
character.
said that they're going to spend whatever, they're going to use whatever resources necessary to squash topics like
Definitely. CIA, these fucking retards.
Brian, your mic is all fucked up.
Anybody that wants the document that I was talking about, I can share it with you. Just message me. But I'd also like to read a couple of quotes because, a couple of quotes because I'm going back to this video that I've been talking about to Kosho and a bunch of other people since I first got here. And that's Jeranism quotes that tell us we've all been lied to. I just haven't had the time to get the quotes and then, go back and go to the sources and get a broader context than what was in the video. But the point is, I mean, you just watched 3 hours of him just giving you quote after quote after quote, and somebody brought up like philosophy. Well, that's what these people operate under, So some dude physicist Bernard Cohen, right? There's no planetary observation by which we on Earth can prove that the Earth is moving in an orbit around the sun. I mean, it's pretty straightforward there. Then you have this one by Edwin Hubble,
George
right?
Ellis.
Right, but Edwin Hubble, he says such a condition, and then this is why I want, I'm gonna go back to the sources to like broaden the for more context, like what is he talking about when he says such a condition? Some people might not know, but such a condition would imply that we occupy a unique position in the universe, analogous in a sense to the ancient conception of central Earth. This hypothesis cannot be disproved, but it is an unwelcome and would only be accepted as a last resort in order to save the phenomenon. Therefore, we disregard this possibility. The unwelcome position of a favored location must be avoided at all costs. Such a favored position is intolerable. Therefore, in order to restore homogeneity and to escape the horror of a unique position, must be compensated by spatial curvature. There seems to be no other escape.
Wow.
And so he's basically
How about the George Ellis quote?
He's basically saying I'm an atheist, I'm having a tantrum, and I won't accept.
See, I think you're reading that. You're reading into that. When I listen to it, I wonder myself, what exactly is he talking about? Why is he so concerned about the favored place? Why does he use the word intolerable and not some other word? Does it expand anywhere in the context?
It sounds like he's in his feels, Okay. Well, Edwin Hubble, The Observational Approach to Cosmology, 1937, page 50, 51, 58, 59.
Elijah, you got to get George Ellis' quote, bro. That's the famous one.
I didn't get
Many
it yet.
cosmologists try to hide the fact that the sun in the center, or the stars moving around the heavens, or the us moving around the heavens, is just a different reference frame with different coordinate points, and that they cannot be distinguished between each other. Many cosmologists try to hide that fact. Something like that.
I look at what that gentleman just said. Who was that? That Edwin Hubble.
Edwin Hubble.
Who said that?
It's intolerable. It's intolerable because every time we say
I mean, who was quoting?
Matrix, your mic, it sounds like you're talking through a pillow.
Who was quoting Edwin Hubble? Who was that?
Oh, that was Elijah. Elijah,
man. Well said, dude. I agree. I agree with everything you just said, and I just want to emphasize on it.
Is it any better now? One more thing here, because I see Hank trying to come through. I know his service isn't the best.
Brandon, is my mic better now? Intolerable. That's a religion.
A little better, Matrix. Hold on. I'm sorry, Hank. Hold on, guys. Hank, what did you say?
Thank you. When facts are intolerable, that's a religion, not science.
Exactly.
Well, how do we know that it's a fact?
No, the problem
You're
is
saying that
it's intolerable. It's intolerable
I
because
wanted to say,
ultimately
guys.
we come to the realization of we were either made here or put here. So either way, it seems like we're trapped. That's why they say it's intolerable.
The only thing I wanted to say to add to Elijah. Let me say
using the scientific method, though. That's how you know it's fact.
Yeah.
Let me just add to Elijah real quick.
Properly, using the scientific method properly. Yeah.
Okay.
In my opinion, what Elijah said is so true, because I see the world the way it is now is a manifestation of a mindset of living in a false world. So this fantasy of space and these galaxies, this mindset people are in of the world they think they're in, so they're going to make choices off that, right?
James, what if it's necessary?
Of the law.
What if the lie is absolutely necessary in order to keep our sanity?
Well, can I read another quote?
Yeah, okay. It's a good question, Matrix. Go ahead, Elijah.
This one is, it says Einstein and Enfield, The Evolution of Physics, page 212. The struggle so violent in the early days of science between the views of Ptolemy and Copernicus, because mind you, like the Big Bang, all of this stuff is set up from accepting that, you know, the Copernican theory is true, or the Copernican story, or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, sorry. The struggle between the views of Ptolemy and Copernicus would be quite meaningless. Either coordinate system, like the guy was just talking about, could be used with equal justification. The two sentences, the sun is at rest and the earth moves, or the sun moves and the earth is at rest, they mean two different conventions concerning two different coordinate systems.
Oh, that's
Evolution
a
of
good one too.
Physics, Einstein and Phil. Now, I've seen the whole video. There's like at least there's like 10, 15 of them that pretty much say the same thing.
Can I just add to what you just said though? Those two coordinate systems, one would be like a spherical coordinate and the other would be a two-dimensional coordinate, right? Did you know that you can convert Cartesian coordinates mathematically into spherical coordinates? There is a calculator for doing such methods.
He was talking exclusively to spheres, though. He was talking that the motion that you track from one position, one reference frame, can be identically tracked from the opposite reference frame, looking back on itself, basically. It's the same motion.
Yeah, so
the
is the
maths are
universe
the
a
same.
globe, or is what we're standing on a globe? I'm with you.
No, what you say, he's just saying that all motion is relative to something else. That's all. That's all he's saying. He's saying there is not one thing that we say, right, this is absolute motion to everything else. That was Lorenz's point of view with ether.
He's wrong.
Well,
though.
that's a cool
That was wrong.
interpretation, but he didn't
That
say
relativity,
anything about relativity
it
in
doesn't
motion.
matter if we're moving or if the sun's moving. That's wrong. There are impacts.
There are, and there are proven
Yeah, there
bits
would be
with
dramatic impacts.
satellite flyby, the flyby Doppler effect.
The fact that there's no way to determine which is which, that's the crux of the issue, because we're talking, somebody brought up philosophy, and so I just thought it was important to note that, well, I mean, when you read pretty much all these people's works, like all of the nerds that really want to get into all this stuff, it'll probably take you a good week and some good hours of reading through, and you'll find like all you can find is their feels about how they wouldn't want to use one convention, so they'll use another instead, and that's the one they went with. So there's nothing scientific about it.
Can I actually pipe in about the there has to be no one center position of the universe. The reason why that was unacceptable was because that had already been used in science and it had worked. So it was basically holding on to what we already know to be true. That's why it was untenable at that point.
No, that means it's
Where
tenable.
did you what was it that we knew to be true? Hang on, hang on. What was it that was known to be
That
true?
wasn't read. That's your philosophy off what he read to you. It wasn't read in
what you have in contrast to that is your philosophy. So how about we both study the actual history and see who is actually correct?
Philosophical.
Did you make that up? Is that true, Lori? That was your interpretation? What?
No,
James
no,
said?
I didn't make it up. I actually know about this. That's why I spoke. I
Okay,
wouldn't
where did you
speak
get
about this if I didn't.
that information? That
History of
that's what he
science.
meant?
History of science.
History of science. I know that
If I
there
was
is
to tell
actually.
you, hold on. This is what you're saying. You're saying that if I was to tell you something, you could use science to determine what I told you.
James, I don't.
Duh. Like, why wouldn't science be useful? I'm not saying that though.
No, that's not
but
what
I could say that.
That's what you said.
That's not what
No,
he said.
I didn't say that at all. I'm saying that there is a historical reality because I'm saying they didn't hold on to this idea that there has to be no center point because of a religious feeling belief, but they had already used it in science.
I
And
think you're
that's why,
strawman. I
because they
think you're
knew it
strawmanning.
works.
What?
And
Who are you responding
yeah,
to?
I
I'm
might
sorry.
be strawman, but please listen to
No,
what
no,
I'm
no.
saying.
Don't say I might
I'm
be.
saying,
Because
what
I'm
I'm
trying
saying,
to.
straw man.
what
Guys,
I
you're gonna
am
say I
saying.
might be strawmanning.
Hold
So
on.
let me just
Hold
continue
on.
to attack this weaker position. I don't
Hold
get. I
on.
don't get that. You're not a madman. Pause.
Yeah,
Relax.
but you
We're
can, you
two
can then,
we're
okay,
two
what,
grown-ups.
if you,
I'm telling you to stop and asking
sure,
you
sure, Elijah,
who
so
you're
correct me where I
responding to
was
so
wrong.
that I'm
Where
not
I was
triggered.
wrong,
I
Elijah.
know.
Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
just
Where
want to
was
know
I incorrect?
who and what are you responding to? That's the question. So that I know
I'm
exactly
responding.
what you're responding
I'm
to.
responding to you. So where did I
Right.
get you wrong?
So you just said that there is no center. Who said that? That's like the premise. Who
I
said
didn't
that?
even say that there is.
No,
You were reading.
you're saying that that's an idea that they threw away. Who said that though? Who? I didn't say
Wasn't
that.
it a quote that you read?
No, it didn't sound like the quote that I read. The quote didn't sound like it said
You can
there
correct
is
me.
no
I'm
center.
open to
It
correct.
sounded like they said they can't determine what's at the center. That's what
No,
it
it
sounded
sounds
like
like
they said.
it sounds like you're cherry picking what you want to hear from these quotes.
How about you read the quote again instead of saying what it sounds like?
I'll read another
When you
quote for
say
more
it sounds
context.
like,
George Ellis.
then you're
People
adding
need
your
to be
own
aware
interpretation.
that there
Just
is a
read the
range
quote
of
again
models.
and then show me clearly from the quote what I got wrong. Because otherwise, this is bullshit. We can.
What?
And my point.
The struggle so
my point.
violently in the early
is.
stages of science between. I'm
All
sorry.
right, Lori, we got your point. Go ahead, Elijah. Read it.
The struggle so violent in the early days. That one, Einstein and Felt. That one.
No, I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
remember
please.
exactly.
Okay, fine. Oh, we'll find the one so I don't,
I think he's
put
talking
words
about
in your
Hubble,
mouth.
Elijah.
Edwin Hubble. Okay, such a condition would imply that we occupy a unique position in the universe, analogous
The one
in a
that
sense
had
to
the
the
word
ancient
intolerable.
conception of a central Earth. This hypothesis cannot be disproved, but is unwelcome. So they're talking about potentially you could be at the center, or it could be a heliocentric model. However, there's no way to determine which scientifically. What are you talking about?
Did you have a quote that uses the word intolerable?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Why don't you
It's
respond to what he
intolerable.
just said?
I think
No,
this,
let him say what he's saying.
written,
So we can just hash
weren't
this
these
out so I can
written
get
back?
and someone else can go. Like this is why people.
I apologize. I apologize, by the way, because it seems that we are talking cross purposes here, and
right.
one
You
of the
said that
reasons I don't have the exact quotes here, so it would actually help if
That's why
I
I'm. That's
had
why
the
I'm
bloody
trying to.
quotes
That's why
here.
I'm trying to read. That's what I'm trying to read. Like what quote are you talking about? Because I read so far two.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know. You need to know what you're refuting.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah. It was one of the first one. It had the word
No,
intolerable.
can I just clarify everything?
Intolerable.
Just 2 minutes.
Intolerable. That's the Edwin Hubble quote. And please go ahead and clarify. That's what you want to do. Okay, the Edwin Hubble quote. I'll read it in its entirety. Such a condition would imply that we occupy a unique position in the universe, analogous, in a sense, to the ancient conception of a central Earth. This hypothesis cannot be disproved, but it is unwelcome and would only be accepted as a last resort in order to save the phenomena. Therefore, we disregard this possibility. The unwelcome position of a favored location must be avoided at all costs. Such a favored position is intolerable. Such a favored position. Now, if we're talking about context clues, that position would be the, ancient concept that the Earth is in the center. Right? And so, obviously,
we're
if it's not
basically
that,
cherry
they're
picking what
talking
we
about
want to hear from
heliocentrism.
these quotes.
What do you
Holy
mean?
shit,
What
bro.
do you
At least
mean?
Elijah has taken the time to read the whole thing, bro. And now you're gonna.
Do you possibly?
How did you cherry pick it? How's this out of context?
Can you possibly post it also, or because I'm also trying to read it?
Sounds like you're just misrepresenting what he said.
Heard this quote. This is fucking bullshit.
You're misrepresenting
It's like we're
what
taking
it
crazy
said.
pills or something.
How?
Anyway,
Explain
can
yourself.
I just
Stop
want to read
chucking
one
out
more,
shit.
and then I'll read one more, and then I'll by George Ellis because it was requested. And then I don't know if this is the one, but George Ellis said quite a few of the same thing, basically. So people need to be aware that there's a range of models that could explain the observations, which he's talking about astronomy. He's talking about observations of the sky, obviously, if you weren't aware. Okay. For instance, I can construct you a spherically symmetrical universe with Earth at its center, and you cannot disprove it based on observations. You can only exclude it on the, oh shit, oh my God, philosophical grounds. In my view, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that, which is on him. What I want to bring into the open is the fact that we are using philosophical criteria in choosing our models. A lot of cosmology tries to hide that. George Ellis, a famous cosmologist and Scientific American, thinking globally, acting universally, October 1995.
Bam. Got him.
Thank you, Elijah. I appreciate that.
Great job, Elijah.
So
That
does
was
that mean
fucking awesome.
the Earth is flat and we live in a central
Well, what's
universe?
interesting about it is that
Can't
there's so
even
many
say
quote
it.
unquote globe earthers. What's interesting about it, there's so many globe earthers in this community that are making this statement: a flat Earth is impossible. All this stuff is impossible. That's just not even close to true. Like somehow they've caught on that rhetoric and are trying to attack flat Earth to say it's impossible. But
No,
even
we're not attacking
cosmologists know that these
incorrect.
explanations can be explained on either type. On
Hang on,
very
hang on,
different
hang on.
models.
I didn't
But
actually see
people
any quote there.
believe in simulation theory.
I didn't
They
see
will
any quote
accept
there that
simulation
says.
theory.
Nobody's
I
attacking
didn't
you. We're
see
just
any
saying it's
quote.
incorrect.
Well, a lot of you
Based
guys
on
are saying it's impossible.
observation
It's
and
not.
philosophy.
Laurie, then
Yeah,
you weren't
it's on
paying
observation.
attention.
Exactly. The observations
Sorry.
don't fit a geocentric universe.
Now, what this quote says,
It doesn't
that's not what this quote
account
says.
for the movement of. It doesn't account for the movement of planets.
It's not what.
Okay,
I
well,
didn't see any quote. By the
can
way,
you tell him? Because I've heard you speak on this. So you're talking about things that don't, that the geocentric model doesn't account for. First of all, models are reifications, but we're going to forego that for now.
No, models are built
So
on
Hank, can you explain?
observations.
Oh, no, models are two scale representations of other things that are real. That's what a model
that's
is.
not actually
Anyway,
what a scientific model is, but okay. We
Anyway,
should actually have a full episode about scientific models.
we should.
Model is not the real thing.
First of all, defining it,
That's
number
the
one.
definition of
Defining
model.
it and seeing its utility. That's what we should do if we're going to talk about it. Anyway, so Hank, could you bring up a couple of points or maybe just one strong point about how observations in the sky don't match a heliocentric universe? Because I know you got the juice.
Really, I'd love to hear
and
that.
this is the thing.
Let's hear it.
I want to quote George Orwell, his book 1984. He said, "Do you not think that our mathematicians are talented enough to have dual cosmologies? That we could have one for the, plebs and then one for the lowers, right? So I think that it is possible. Like we are smart enough that we could be creative enough to have multiple cosmologies. And in fact, that's the truth, right? There's over 40 different cosmologies. Right, the heliocentric model is just one, right? And I think in the past there's been hundreds and hundreds of cosmologies, right? And every one of them were wrong, right? The thing is that where we disagree is that this is all philosophical, right? And you guys might think that it's scientific, but it's philosophical in the sense that I think just one more model is wrong, and you guys are holding on to that last model and going, no, it's not. When all the models before it were completely wrong. And I'll leave you with this. George Washington was bled to death because he had water, liquid, in his lungs. So they let all the blood out so that they could cure him, right? Humanity hasn't changed that much in a couple hundred years. The man who said that you should wash your hands after you touch the cadavers before you go give birth, right, with the OB department, right, he died in an insane asylum. Humanity hasn't changed. You're still in the same boat. In 2021, in 21, you're still going to be in the same boat.
Well said,
Yeah,
Hank.
mankind has
Good
never
shit, man.
changed. Only the technology.
I got nothing out of that.
Hey,
okay?
let me wrap it up here just for the live YouTube show. I really appreciate everybody who joined the panel. even those that did get muted during the show, who I'm going to now unmute. Elijah, thanks for bringing us those quotes. That was pretty awesome.
Yes.
And I can't
Thanks,
remember if
Brandon.
there's anything else that presented anything, but thank you very much. We'll see you guys tomorrow. I will record in the after show. So just so you know, you may be recorded all night if you hang out in here. I don't usually do anything with the recording unless something amazing happens, but just so you know, you're being recorded.
Oh, tomorrow's
And again,
tomorrow's
thank
Wednesday.
you
We
very
get that
much.
extra. Oh, sorry. My bad.
You should post. You should
That's
post.
okay.
The
Thank you very
after
much.
show.
I'll be back.
You should.
All right. Anyway, I think Brenda was asking me to post an after show, but I just don't have time. Tim, what are you progressing? 5-6 years hanging out in chats, saying the same old things to flat earthers. Same old shit. Talking about your same fucking refracted pictures. What are you progressing, dude? Anyway, thanks to the audience for listening. Thanks to Kango24, Gordzilla. There's a couple other people whose super chat aren't showing up in the list here anymore, but shout out to them. Thank you very much for supporting the show. And we'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday. We'll start off with the first half Flat Earthers only, and then let the ballers in, and we'll see where it goes. Thanks, everybody. 7 years, Tim says. All right, fair enough. Have a good night, guys.